Johnson.
If he's plank of the week, he's got a sizable plank.
That's
a whole different show.
Plank of the week, Fridays at 7 on Talk.
Hi, I'm Kevin O'Sullivan, and I've got a message for you. Welcome back to this blockbuster edition of What Just Happened. It really is a good one, I think. It's so funny that people keep calling me Meghan Markle, because it's Meghan Sussex now.
Flynn has said, Samara, I agree with you all the time, but you're just boring.
Hi! I refuse to work for ITV ever again. Oh! What Just Happened? Fridays at 9 on Talk.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. It's the one show where you do not have to be worried about judgmental people because we'll do all the judging for you.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and this is Petri. I'm with you through until 1 o'clock as ever, and coming up at midnight, of course, is the phone-in. And I think the jury's out at this point as to what the question will be at midnight, but I do want to talk about this incident in Liverpool. The reason I say that the jury's out on the question is because we haven't got all the information yet. Just to let you know, we are expecting to go live to a press conference from Merseyside Police and the North West Ambulance Service, who will give us details of who was injured, what the type of injuries were. I suspect we'll get that as well. So all of that is to come. But I do want to talk to you about this and how you feel about this. And a lot of people already messaging and commenting on how extraordinary it is that the police released a statement saying that the person who has been arrested in connection with this collision, this car going into pedestrians at the Liverpool football parade, was a 53-year-old British white man, and many people commenting on that. It seems fairly obvious to me as to why that information was released as quickly as it was released, and maybe it is just because they didn't want another Southport on their hands, that they wanted to release the fact that this was by all accounts a Liverpudlian. This was a white 53-year-old Liverpudlian man who has been arrested in connection with this collision. So many people are commenting on that and going, oh, well, I wonder if this is the truth. I wonder if this... Look, we're not going to speculate at this point, but my suspicion is that this has been released so that there isn't the same speculation and street violence that we saw over the Southport stabbings. I suspect that they've perhaps learned a lesson, and I think because of that we may get more information more quickly this time round. We don't know why this happened. We don't know what the reasons were. I mean, there can't be any reason that is worth it, obviously, but we have nothing so far. I don't know whether the police will give us that, because the investigation is going to be ongoing at this stage. The anti-terror police are there just to make sure that it is not terror related, or if it is terror related, but also there's the whole area of where this car collided with pedestrians has been cordoned off, and a huge tent has been put, a forensic tent has been put, I believe it's over the top of the car, but we have a reporter on the scene who will give us more information on that. This happened just after 6 o'clock this evening. There were up to 1 million fans lining the streets to celebrate Liverpool's Premier League title, and the ambulance said at 9:24 p.m. that it had now cleared the scene. So the ambulance service were in attendance for quite some time there, but it has now cleared the scene, and it will update on casualty numbers at the news briefing, which we are expecting to be at around 10:30. So we're aiming to hit that news conference live at 10:30. The area has been cordoned off, and a large number of emergency services remain at the scene. There are 2 fire trucks there right next to the car as well. Merseyside Police leading the investigation with officers, as I said, from counter-terrorism, policing Northwest supporting, and the police, obviously there were a lot of police there in attendance. Again, a lot of people were saying, gosh, they were really quickly at the scene, because there were 1 million people on the streets this afternoon, and this was 5 hours into the parade. The police, there were a lot of police in attendance as it was, so they were able to get to the scene pretty quickly. Obviously, we'd love to hear from you if you are in Liverpool, if you were there, and if you saw anything. Like we said, we don't want to speculate at this point, but if you are an eyewitness, then we will take your call. And I want to know how Liverpool is feeling as well this evening, because this is not the first tragedy to have hit Liverpool Football Club, and it's just horrendous that this could happen when people are out on a bank holiday Monday afternoon having fun. I mean, it's just really tragic to me. It's obviously devastating. Liverpool Football Club have released a message. So we are in direct contact with Merseyside Police regarding the incident on Water Street, which happened towards the end of the trophy parade earlier this evening. Our thoughts and prayers are with those who have been affected by this serious incident, and we will continue to offer our support. And Everton has also said, our thoughts are with all those who have been affected by this serious incident in our city. Well, our reporter Nick Ellersby was there. Ellerby is there because I suspect he was there for the huge reaction to that trophy and the supporters out on the streets. Nick Ellerby joins me now live from Liverpool. Nick, I mean, this changed in a heartbeat, right? This celebration became something else very quickly.
Yeah, good evening, Petri. I mean, we estimate there was about 1 million people on the streets of Liverpool today, and it was a joyous day celebrating the Premier League trophy that they couldn't celebrate the last time that Liverpool won under COVID. And then just after
Nick, we're going to try and reconnect with you. I think the weather and everything there is having an impact on our connection there. So we will reconnect and come back to you. Yeah, this of course was the celebration that couldn't happen 5 years ago because of COVID. So many people, many more people perhaps turned out onto the streets of Liverpool to celebrate this moment for the football Football Club, a huge moment. The eyewitnesses are saying the parade had just finished, the bus had just gone past, and then we heard about this incident. That was an eyewitness saying that. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. My kids were with me and they started screaming. We were just all in a state of confusion. Nick, I think we've got you back now.
Yeah, hello, Petri. I
That's
hope you
better.
can hear me a little bit better. I'm just off Water Street where the incident happened around 6 p.m. What we do know, as I say, I was in Liverpool for the parade, which was a joyous occasion today on the Bank Holiday Monday, despite the rain, with the Liverpool fans celebrating the Premier League that they couldn't celebrate when they won under COVID. And then just after 6 p.m, what we do know is that a black SUV, drove into a number of pedestrians just behind me on Water Street in the centre of Liverpool. We're right by the Liver building, by the docks here, and there were hundreds of thousands of people on the street still celebrating. And Merseyside police very quickly released information that they had detained a 53-year-old white man from the Merseyside area. He's been arrested, is being questioned. When I arrived on the scene just after 7 p.m, there were probably 7 or 8 ambulances, I think a fire engine, a number of fire crews, huge number of police. The police had already cordoned off a big area. And there are a number of tents set up as well. We're not exactly sure how many people were injured or exactly what state those people are in. I do know that an air ambulance arrived just nearby here on the Liverpool docks, and we were expecting an update from the police at 10:30 on the state of those injured. We've had a lot of people posting on social media to say that their thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families. Liverpool Football Club have said they're shocked and saddened. They're working with Merseyside police. Everton as well, in this great city, 2 huge football clubs. Everton have tweeted that their condolences are with the victims, and the mayor of Liverpool, Steve Rotherham, says that the city stands together in reaction to this. And I did see as well, as I arrived on the scene, about 6 police grabbing a white, bald, middle-aged man and patting him down and putting him into the back of a police van. And they actually then drove away. So I'm just moving away from a member of the public that approached me. There are a lot of revelers, a lot of late-night revelers out still enjoying the evening and the bank holiday. And then those eyewitness reports from the scene saying that they heard screams. This is around just after 6 p.m, and then turned around and saw this black SUV driving into pedestrians. And then the sound, the pop, pop, pop sound of bodies hitting the front of the car. And then eyewitness reports say that a large number of people then surrounded the car and started trying to smash the windows to get inside. And then the police were here very quickly and detained an individual, as we understand, a 53-year-old white man from the Merseyside area. Merseyside police are still investigating. There are forensic teams here on the scene, but they're asking people not to share any footage online. There's a number of shocking videos out there already. They're asking people to send those videos into the police, and also not to share any disinformation. What happens when there's a vacuum of information, people start speculating, and I think that's why they released that information about the man they detained so quickly, Petri.
And also, Nick, I'm with you on that as well, getting that information out quickly to prevent the sort of scenes that we saw perhaps in Southport. But again, even in as much as having a press conference at 10 o'clock tonight, they are keen to keep Liverpool calm through the night.
Yeah, when I arrived, as I say, I was actually tried to get on a train. There was probably 1 million people here on the streets. We couldn't actually get into Liverpool station around 5-6 p.m. It was just absolutely rammed. And then we heard the news and I came rushing back into town. As I arrived at the scene, it was a real feeling of anger because it was still so raw. The victims were still being treated. I saw a few people being led away in blankets earlier, clearly shocked by what's happened. And a lot of mistrust in journalism and journalists as well. And actually a lot of people making their feelings known to me and some of the other crews that were here. And I think the police were right to release that information early. And I'll be attending the press conference at 10:30 to find out, as much as they'll they'll pass on.
A lot of people as well commenting, Nick, that the police seem to have got control of this scene very quickly because of the size of the crowd. So I'm guessing there were a lot of police out there, and perhaps they were prepared for not this incident, but for something to happen. So the police and the emergency services seem to be extremely well prepared for this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were a huge number of St John's ambulances as well on the parade route, and I saw quite a number of those at the scene this evening. I mean, as I say, 7 or 8 ambulances straight away. And yeah, the whole place, I mean, I arrived probably less than an hour after it happened, and a huge part of the street was already on lockdown, and everything was completely under control. There was already a mobile sort of police unit set up there, talking to any witnesses as well. And so, yeah, it does seem like they got on top of things very, very quickly.
And the ambulance, we've been told now, Northwest Ambulance has said that it's cleared the scene. It had cleared the scene by 9:24, but there will be a major police presence there, presumably protecting. I know it's raining now, so some forensic evidence they may be already losing with that, but they will be there all night, I presume, in protecting the scene.
As far as I know, yeah. I mean, I saw about 3 or 4 scientific support units and forensic officers come through the police cordon. But those investigations are still ongoing. There was a number of tents set up around the scene this evening. So, again, those investigations still ongoing. It's not unusual not to have any information about the victims yet. But as I say, we expect to hear some more of that at 10:30. And, the police also keeping the public informed and being quite open about what they knew and what they can and can't say, with everybody asking. There was, so many people on the streets, and obviously alcohol had been taken, so it was quite a febrile atmosphere when I arrived.
And as for now, I mean, the pubs presumably are still open. There is still some risk of a reaction to this. Are the police spread far and wide through the city, do you know, to prevent that?
Yeah, I mean, they have been all day. There's been quite a big police presence around today, but very much just letting people get on with the party. And then as soon as obviously this happened, they were very quick to cordon off the street. There's a number of officers talking to people. I've seen a few people trying to get into their hotels that are inside the cordon, and they can't actually do that. They're not letting people get in yet. So clearly those investigations are still very much ongoing. Looks like they are now opening the street up. As you say, yeah, the ambulance crews cleared by around 9:30, so that was all done in about 3 hours. And eyewitness reports here of people being led into nearby restaurants to be treated. So yeah, we're just hopefully everyone is okay, and our thoughts and prayers are with the victims and their families.
Well, I mean, what a tragedy that something so joyous has got to turn so horrible so quickly. Nick, thank you very much indeed for joining me, and I'll be joining the press conference as well as Nick at 10:30. So don't go anywhere. That live presser will be here. That's when we'll get information from the police, and we'll get some information from the Northwest Ambulance Service as well, giving us some indication of how many people were injured and how severe those injuries indeed are. Right now, though, I'm going to take a very quick break, but I will be back in just a moment.
Across the UK. On DAB+. On your smart speaker. On your smart TV. And on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk and it is Petri here with you until 1 o'clock, and we've been talking, of course, about the tragedy in Liverpool, because, you know, it was meant to be a joyous moment, 1 million people out on the streets on a bank holiday Monday enjoying the Premier League win, and for the first time that they can do that for a while, because 5 years ago they couldn't because of COVID, but this time they could, and they did. And then very, very quickly, this turned to disaster. We spoke to Nick Ellaby, our reporter in Liverpool, and we wanted to get a reaction now from the world of sport. And joining us now is Alex Three Lines Irons, a TalkSport presenter and producer. Alex, good to see you. I mean, this is...
Good evening.
You just can't fathom, can you, that joy can turn so quickly on its head to something like this?
Yeah, horrible scenes in Liverpool, and you know, there were 1.2 million people on the streets of Liverpool, if not more than that, celebrating Liverpool's 20th time as the champions of England, their second ever Premier League win. You know, like I said, at least over 1 million people on the streets. Flares all over the place, as we've been seeing in football in recent years. Flares have been a prominent fixture in football celebrations. We saw it when Liverpool won the Premier League a couple of weeks ago, and the whole of Liverpool looked like it was covered in red fog when the team bus came through with the players on it celebrating that win. But yeah, what should have been a jubilant day, and we've been seeing you know, trophy tours or the bus parades with players on the top of those coaches all weekend. We saw it with Palace yesterday, the Arsenal women as well. They had theirs yesterday, and of course Spurs had theirs on Friday for the Europa League. So, you know, it's been what has been a weekend of celebrations has turned into something horrific, sadly, up in the northwest.
It really is, and Liverpool, of course, they're a club that is tragically used to tragedy.
Yeah, of course, we know about Hillsborough in the 80s, where 97 people lost their lives. There was also a couple of years ago with their Champions League final in Paris. There was fights with the crowd, with the police of Liverpool fans trying to get into the ground there, and that was, you know, badly managed as well. It seems to be that Liverpool fans, in that sense, absolutely cannot catch a break. We've now got this to remember as well. It's luckily, it sounds like no one has been killed in this, which is thankfully is a bit of a godsend, but it's marred a horrible it's marred what should have been a fantastic day, and it's
as you said,
a horrible shame.
A weekend of celebration as well. Liverpool fans, though, what likely is their reaction to this? We saw some of the images I saw on the street. Some of them were very angry at the scene. The police seem to have handled it extremely well, I have to say, from looking at the images that I saw. But Liverpool fans chasing the car, it seemed, to try and stop it from proceeding on its journey. These are tough fans, right? And they're really loyal to each other.
Yeah, don't mess with football fans is something I would say. I think Millwall fans would definitely attest to that, but they're not winning the Premier League anytime soon. So Liverpool fans in particular, yeah, they're going to stand up for one another. Of course, they've got their chant of "never walk alone." Oh, you'll never walk alone, and a lot of Liverpool fans live by that, and they die by that too. And the fact that so many Liverpool fans were standing up for one another, I have seen the images as well of them trying to stop the driver, them trying to break into the car, and police doing a very good job to contain everything as much as they could. Liverpool fans in particular, you know, that, like you said, we've seen this before with crowd incidents, with including Liverpool fans. I feel that Liverpool fans, the ones that were there, will be happy to have made it home safe. They would looking forward to seeing their team parade the Premier League and lift it. They were given the Premier League trophy yesterday, and the fans who are in the stadium at Anfield will remember that forever, especially as they weren't able to celebrate that with their fans 5 years ago because it was the COVID season. Those Liverpool fans have been aching for a moment like this in the Premier League for 30 years, and now they've been able to have that, and it's been completely ruined by one person who decided to do something absolutely ridiculous.
What about? I mean, there are two big football teams in Liverpool, Everton,
Yes.
As well. This is a sort of thing that sort of supersedes fandom, doesn't it? It goes above just your team, my team. There will be reactions from all teams, I would imagine, and all of football, in fact, in support of Liverpool and Liverpool fans.
So Everton have said, and they were one of the first clubs on Twitter to reply back to Liverpool's initial tweet saying that they were in direct contact with Merseyside police in regards to that incident. Everton, one of the first to say, our thoughts are with those who have been affected by this serious incident in our city. Now, of course, we know the rivalry, it runs deep between Everton and Liverpool, but I feel that in regards to the city itself, both these clubs rely on one another. They have a relationship where it is love-hate. They both love that city. And for someone to do what they did to interrupt the celebration proceedings, I don't think any Everton fan would have enjoyed what had happened, and they would have been just as disgusted, because, of course, it's a very, very close, everyone more or less knows each other in that city. People are going to know other Everton fans. People are going to know other Liverpool fans. And they all care for one another. So when someone breaks that, when someone does something as what they did, those fans are going to come together, and the city itself will come together. So Everton fans and the club doing what looks like what they can to bring everybody together, which is fantastic to see. Other clubs have also got involved, including to say, their well wishes. Feyenoord in Rotterdam, they've left a heart saying for Liverpool and everyone involved. Same for Sevilla in Spain, saying that their thoughts are with those in Liverpool this evening. And other tweets from clubs such as Ipswich, Bolton, Birmingham, Crystal Palace, Burnley, Sunderland and Leeds. So a whole plethora of clubs from the Premier League to abroad as well. And
I'm sure there'll be more comments as well from Liverpool as after the police have spoken and we know more about what's going on. Alex, thank you very much indeed for that. Alex, Three Lines Irons there, talkSPORT presenter and producer, reflecting on the world of sport and football. Quick break, and then when I come back, hopefully we'll be joining that press conference live.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello, this is Talk and it is Petrie here with you, and we are now just waiting. We've been told that there will be a press conference, just looking up at my screens if you're wondering what I'm doing, if you're watching this on YouTube, to see when that press conference should happen. It was due to happen at 10:30, but you can imagine this is a very movable feast at this stage, and I'm sure the police will be there very soon to do that. The other news organisations are saying soon, live shortly, so we will cross to that as soon as we see the cameras change. There's always a bit of a fuss before a press conference, but let me remind you and update you as to what we know so far, and that is that a 53-year-old white British man believed to be from the area of Liverpool has been arrested in connection with this incident. He was taken to a police station, we don't know which one, and is currently being questioned. They're just getting ready for the press conference now, it seems, but I will cross there in a moment. Since then, what we know is that the Liverpool service, the Northwest Ambulance Service, has cleared the scene of that incident at 9:24. They said they cleared that scene. Our reporter Nick said that there was an air ambulance that was in attendance as well that landed close by. That may have been just in case, or it may have taken somebody with them. We won't know until we hear from the police and the ambulance service. They will also hopefully update us as well as to the number of people who have been injured and as to the severity of those injuries, so we should have a bit more information. It seems that the police are very keen to get this information out as quickly as possible, unlike other incidents that we've seen, and certainly by telling us very quickly that this was a white British man, that they wanted to not have the same error, the same issues that led to a vacuum of information and led to riots and scenes on the streets of Southport. So I think this time round we will be getting more information, and we will get it in a more timely fashion. Lots of people there today, 1.2 million people is the estimate, could be more than that, on the streets of Liverpool to celebrate Liverpool Football Club getting their Premier League trophy. The bus had just gone past with the football players and the trophy there to show it to all the Liverpool fans out on the streets when this incident happened at around 6 o'clock. The police were very quick, it seems, on the scene again, because there were many police in attendance. There were many ambulances there. A big crowd like that, 1.2 million, would require a lot of policing and a lot of, St John's ambulances and rapid response ambulances as well on a just-in-case basis. I'm sure they weren't anticipating something like this, but they were there on a just-in-case basis. So the police were very quick to respond and able to calm down some of those Liverpool fans. And as, again, Nick was saying, look, these people were out there. It was a bank holiday Monday. There was lots of alcohol involved, lots of drinking and jollity, and as there should be. But alcohol, as you know, could turn things pretty nasty. It seems that although there was anger on the streets, and I've seen some of the images of some of the people that were there who were getting pretty angry, it does appear that the police were able to calm the situation down very quickly and clear the area of people so that they could get the forensic teams in there, they could get fire engines in there, they could get all sorts of people in there that needed to be there. Since they've been there, they've also erected a very large forensic tent. I guess that's because the weather has changed as well. It's raining there now, and they don't want to lose any sort of evidence that they can and should be collecting. The tent there, I believe, is covering the vehicle that was involved in the incidents. There are forensic teams in there at the moment. They will be doing a rudimentary search of this vehicle and a rudimentary check as well. It will be eventually moved to somewhere else where if you like, a deeper search can take place. That's generally the process of things. I'm pretty sure they won't move it this morning, tonight, until the daylight hours, because they will want to check again in daylight. Even though they will have lights and stuff there, they will want to check it again in daylight. I would imagine that they will move that sometime tomorrow during the morning to a specialist centre where they can forensically examine that car a little bit closer. What else can I tell you? The Prime Minister has described the scenes as appalling and thanked those emergency services for their response, while the Home Secretary has said that she is being kept up to date by the police. That's Yvette Cooper, of course. And they will be taking in all the information. The police will have already briefed them, I'm pretty sure, as well. The collision took place on Water Street. I don't know if you know Liverpool. Sadly, I don't know Liverpool. I'd love to visit Liverpool, but it's not far from the Liver building. So it's right in the heart of Liverpool. Many people will be questioning as to why those roads weren't properly blocked, as to why some bollards or something weren't. We see these incidents now with depressing regularity at big events, and we saw it in New Orleans, didn't we, recently? That awful incident in New Orleans, and people were questioning there, well, you know, these roads, why weren't they blocked with bollards? I'm sure those are some of the questions that the police and those who organised this event today will be being asked, and whether that now needs to be standard in everything and every time there's a huge crowd of people now, because these incidents just happen depressingly often, don't they? We hear about them all the time. The police are asking people not to show the footage that on social media. There is a lot of footage out there. It's very distressing. If you're somebody who's easily upset, I urge you not to watch it. Somebody has actually captured the moment this car went into these pedestrians, and you can see people being hit by the vehicle. People can be seen swarming around the car as well. These were people who were at the parade to enjoy themselves, and hitting the windows, smashing the windows to try and get the driver out of that car, and police rushed to the scene and were able to calm that down. Like I said, that video is very distressing. It is not for the faint-hearted. Eyewitnesses have said that they heard shouts and screams as the driver appeared to put his foot down into pedestrians. So the car was going relatively slowly at some point, but it sped up and veered into the crowds. It altered its course to hit into the crowd. How or why it altered the course is yet, of course, up to investigation. One person said, "I saw this vehicle initially adjacent to an ambulance, and it ploughed into a few people, and then it came to a stop. We were shocked. There was a lot of commotion, a lot of screams, and I saw the people around me surging towards the car, trying to smash the windows." As I said, we're still waiting for this press conference. I can see the room there, but we are expecting Deputy Chief Constable Jenny Sims of Merseyside Police and a spokesperson from North West Ambulance Service and the Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service. They will be in attendance at this press briefing. In the meantime, the Health Secretary has just issued a statement as emergency services in Liverpool work to help people hit by that car that ploughed into pedestrians. Wes Streeting wrote on Twitter, "I would like to thank our amazing emergency services for their heroic actions this evening in Liverpool." Still no sign of the police there. I'm wondering if we go to a break here rather than wait until later. Let's do that. Let's go to a quick break because then we won't have to interrupt the presser.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, this is Talk, and it's Petrie here with you, and we're still awaiting the press conference. I'm looking at images now of an empty desk with lots of microphones on it. They should be approaching soon. I mean, they're already 10 minutes over the time that they said, but they're gathering a lot of information. I suspect double-checking it, triple-checking it to make sure that the information that they give to us is as accurate as it can possibly be. They don't want a rerun of Southport, and they don't want a rerun of the riots that were seen. So they're going to have to be very careful about how they deliver the information that they deliver to us. They could be as well being updated by hospitals, and again, they're going to want to make sure that all the information they've got is as accurate as it possibly can be. Ernie has sent me a message. Why were there any vehicles allowed in the area where the parade was taking place? Haven't the authorities learned anything from the past? The roads should have been closed to all traffic in that area. The people of Liverpool have been let down again. Whenever there's a large gathering of people in Cardiff, if it's a rugby match or football match or a pop concert, the city centre is closed down and no traffic is allowed near the city centre, and that's how it should be in every major city. And that's Ernie from Cardiff. And you know what, I mean, we're all sick of hearing, aren't we, that, oh, you know, lessons will be learned. But surely that is a lesson that we should have learned some time ago. I don't know if there are particular issues with Liverpool streets. I don't know whether there's a reason that the roads wouldn't have been blocked off with bollards. But certainly those are the kinds of questions that will be being asked, that if there is some investigation into this, and there will be, as to how or why it was planned this way, those are the questions that people will be demanding answers from. How a rogue car could get that far into a crowd in the middle of the city during this event is a question that the police and the authorities will have to answer to. It's an extraordinary thing to imagine in this day and age that a car could even get that close, as we know that cars are being used in this way as weapons against innocent civilians. There is more here from the NHS University Hospitals Liverpool group is asking members of the public to refrain from calling to ask about loved ones, saying instead that next of kin will be contacted. In a statement, the Trust says, following the incident in Liverpool city centre this evening, we know that many people are concerned about loved ones, but next of kin will be contacted, so please help us to manage the incident as best we can by refraining from calling our switchboard. And I guess there'll be a lot of people who haven't heard from loved ones, perhaps because they're down the pub or their phone's run out of battery or whatever it is, now really seriously concerned that one of their loved ones might have been involved in this. Of course, as I would be, I have to be honest with you, but they will be contacting you if you need to be contacted. Otherwise, just keep their phone lines as clear as possible. Liverpool Football Club, this trophy parade, as I said, a man aged 53, a white British man from Merseyside, arrested after pedestrians hit. Again, it would seem from our reporter on the scene, Nick Allaby, that there was at least one other arrest that he noticed. I suspect there would have been other arrests. We don't know why those arrests took place. We don't know what is going on with those. But the area, of course, is cordoned off, and there still remains, even though it's late at night, you can see the tent there. Well, I can see the tent there, sorry, you can't. But there's a huge forensic tent that has been placed, it would appear, over the vehicle in question there. The presence of police seems to have diminished somewhat, although I suspect there will be many of them around the area, making sure that nobody gets into the area. They've also had a bit of rain there, which will hamper their their search of the area, but I can still see there's tape all around the place preventing members of the public from approaching the scene, and I can see police officers as well now, so they were just out of frame. So there's still quite a lot of police presence, as you would imagine, in the area. A lot of people not being allowed, if they've got hotels within that cordoned off area, they are not being allowed to go back to their hotels. But I guess there will be a situation where eventually they'll either be allowed back in or they will just have to find alternative accommodation. We have a voice note now from Debbie.
Hey, Petri. Me and my family, my parents are in their 70s, my husband and I are in our late 40s. We were in Liverpool last month, and it's the most idyllic, cultural, musical city ever. There are bollards around the city, so you can't go up stuff. But why? Why is this happening? Liverpool is just amazing. All of our cities are amazing, but why? And it's odd to say. I can't wait to hear the press conference. I need to go to bed. I've been at a charity show for the last 2 days. We were on your station about 3 weeks ago promoting that, and it's just like to come back thinking we've done good and this is what's happening is just awful. Anyway, stay safe all. Lots of love.
Oh, bless you, Debbie. Thank you very much indeed for that. Yeah, I mean, look, we don't know, and the police have been very clear to not speculate. I mean, I'm sure we're all speculating in our minds, right, as to what could have caused this to happen, what could have caused this person, if they chose to do this, to choose to do that, and why do it at a moment of joy and celebration. I mean, I've heard some rumours as to why this individual may have taken this action, and they seem so nonsensical as to be can't possibly be true. But who knows these days, right? It is horrific. It's just so sad. I just can't, can just imagine that moment where everything was just so joyous and wonderful, and suddenly people are hearing screams and there's police and ambulances all over the place. It just doesn't bear thinking about. I don't know what, Debbie, I'm with you. I don't know what on earth could have led to this. We will find out. Hopefully the police, when they finally do arrive, will be giving us some information on that. There's 20 minutes beyond time now, but I guess, like I said, they are just making sure that they have all of the information that they need. Around 1 million people, there's 1.2 million, if not more, people. And Liverpool isn't the biggest of cities, right? It isn't the huge, it's not like London. It's not as big as that. So fans of Liverpool Football Club were gathered in the city centre for this victory parade, celebrating their club's Premier League victory. By all accounts, it was a joyous, celebratory atmosphere as the players paraded through the streets on an open-top bus. As far as I'm aware, none of the players have put anything out on social media, which I would have found surprising, except that I guess that they've been told not to. There will be an element of wanting to control the language and to control the narrative of what is going on, and the police may also have asked for no comment. Liverpool Football Club itself has commented. We are in direct contact with Merseyside Police regarding the incident on Water Street, which happened towards the end of the trophy parade earlier this evening. Our thoughts and prayers are with those who have been affected by this serious incident. And there will be people who weren't even there who are affected by this, because it's just the thought, isn't it, of wherever we go, are we safe? It is now that cars can be used or are being used in this manner. It's, people talk about banning weapons. Well, here's a weapon for you, and it's called a car, and we've seen it being used. We've seen it being used all around the world to devastating effect, and you can't ban the car because of it. So you can using this as a weapon. It would seem that many questions will be asked, as I've said before, and as Ernie has said, about how a vehicle could even get this far into the city. Water Street, according to Nick, is very close to the Liver building, which is right in the centre, or near the centre of Liverpool. How was this able to get there? How was it able to happen? Again, that'll be a question I'm sure that even at the press conference the police may be being asked. They are turning up now. It looks like Jenny Sims is just sitting down now. She's got her glasses in her hand and she is taking her seat. Let's cross over now to get the beginning of this press conference in Liverpool. Oh, right, so I'm told that we are about 20 seconds behind, so I'm seeing it before, 20 seconds at least before you are. So here they go for you now, sitting down. This is Deputy Chief Constable Jenny Sims.
Good evening. I'm Assistant Chief Constable Jenny Sims from Merseyside Police. Firstly, my thoughts are with all those injured in tonight's horrific incident, their family and friends, and all of those affected by the terrible tragedy that has taken place today. I want to thank all of the emergency services, partner agencies and members of the public who came to the assistance of the injured following this evening's shocking incidents, which we declared a major incident. This had been a joyous day in Liverpool, with hundreds of thousands of people lining the streets to celebrate Liverpool Football Club's victory parade. Sadly, at 6 o'clock this evening, as the parade was drawing to a close, we received reports that a car had been in a collision with a number of pedestrians on Water Street in Liverpool city centre. A number of people have been injured and were taken to hospital. In addition, a large number of people of all ages were treated at the scene but did not require hospital treatment. Specialist officers have been put in place to support the injured and their families. Our emergency service colleagues from the North West Ambulance Service and Mersey Fire and Rescue Service also attended the scene and will be able to provide further updates. The car stopped at the scene and a 53-year-old white British man from the Liverpool area was arrested. We believe him to be the driver of the vehicle. Extensive inquiries are ongoing to establish the circumstances leading up to the collision, and it is vital that people do not speculate or spread misinformation on social media. I know that people will understandably be concerned by what has happened tonight. What I can tell you is that we believe this to be an isolated incident, and we are not currently looking for anyone else in relation to it. The incident is not being treated as terrorism. We would ask that people refrain from sharing distressing footage from the incident online, and please share any information directly with our investigation team. Information, including video footage, can be passed on via the Merseyside Major Incident Police Portable. Detail can be found on the Merseyside Police website. In the lead up to this event, we have been working closely with event organisers, and a robust traffic management plan was put in place for the parade, which included a number of road closures throughout the route and the city centre. We will provide further updates as soon as we have them. I'll now hand over to my colleague Dave Kitchen from the North West Ambulance Service.
Thank you. Good evening, I'm Dave Kitchen, Head of Service for the Cheshire Merseyside area of NWAS. All of us at North West Ambulance Service are horrified and saddened that a day of celebration for the people of Liverpool could end in such terrible circumstances. Our thoughts are with everyone who witnessed the incident and those who have been injured. As large crowds were expected in the city centre today to celebrate Liverpool Football Club's victory, we thankfully had a substantial presence already in place close to the route, as we would do for any event of this type. Our ambulances, hazardous area response team, merit doctors, North West Air Ambulance colleagues and senior clinicians were very quickly on scene to offer aid and treatment. St John Ambulance also had clinical teams present to support us throughout the day and were quick to respond, and our thanks go to them for their assistance. Our emergency ambulances took patients to our NHS colleagues at the Royal Liverpool Hospital, Alder Hey, Arrow Park and Aintree hospitals. Sadly, 4 of the injured were children who were enjoying the day with their friends and their families. We can confirm that our teams treated 20 patients at the scene for minor injuries, and these did not need hospital treatment. 27 patients in total were taken to hospital by ambulance, and we believe 2 of those, including one of the children, have sustained serious injuries. Our cyclist paramedic, who was on scene, was also unfortunately struck by the vehicle, but I'm pleased to report that no injuries were sustained. We also know that some patients have self-presented at local hospitals following the incident. We're working closely with our partners at Merseyside Police and share their appeal for calm. This is indeed an appalling incident, and we understand that people will be deeply upset. The people of Liverpool have shown many times before that you are a strong community and you support one another. All of us at North West Ambulance Service share with you the frustration that this wonderful day has ended like this, and we hope that those who have been injured make a speedy recovery. We'd also like to extend our thanks to Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service and Merseyside Police, both of whom assisted in the tendering to the injured in a very rapid sequence, as did many of the supporters in the city centre. As well as our NHS colleagues who will continue the treatment, everybody has played their part today. At this point, I'd just like to pass over to Nick Searle, the Chief Fire Officer. Thank you.
Good evening. Firstly, our thoughts are with everyone who has been affected by the incident this evening. Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service were informed at 18:07 hours. We immediately mobilised 3 fire engines to Water Street and were in attendance in 4 minutes. On arrival, the crews were met with numerous injured people and 4 persons trapped under a vehicle. Our crews rapidly lifted the vehicle, removed 3 adults and 1 child from beneath and passed them to our ambulance service colleagues. We then worked with emergency service partners to ensure casualties received medical treatment and transport to hospital as quickly as possible. My fire crews will maintain a visible and reassuring presence in the coming days and weeks. I'll now hand you over to Liam Robinson from Liverpool City Council.
Thank you. I'd like to start by saying, on behalf of everyone here in Liverpool, how much our thoughts and prayers are with those affected by this appalling incident in the city centre today. It's cast a very dark shadow over what had been a joyous day for the city and the finale to a fabulous bank holiday weekend. I'd particularly like to pay tribute to the emergency services who responded to help those who were hurt and to our NHS staff treating them in hospital. We are working very closely with Merseyside Police to support their investigation and with other relevant organisations to make sure those affected get the appropriate support. I would appeal for people, please do not share the horrifying footage of the incident on social media. Please, if you have any information, forward it to Merseyside Police to help them with their investigation. We won't be commenting any further, but we will provide relevant updates as and when we know more and it's appropriate to do so. Once again, our hearts go out to all of those affected. Liverpool is a city that has a proud history of coming together and supporting each other during challenging times. I've no doubt that will again be the case over the coming days and weeks. Thank you.
So there you go. It was the briefest, actually, of press conferences. I really wasn't anticipating that would be a little bit longer with maybe a little bit more detail. But some of the detail there, some of the most interesting detail there coming from David Pitchins from Northwest Ambulance Service and Nick Searle, the Chief Fire Officer from Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service. We heard that there were 4 children injured. 20 patients were seen to at the scene. They were helped at the scene. 27 people were taken to hospital. 2 of those people, including a child, seriously injured. And then from Nick Searle, who's the Chief Fire Officer from Merseyside Fire and Rescue, said that they got to the scene within 4 minutes of being called, that there were 4 people trapped under that vehicle. They lifted the car immediately and discovered 3 adults and 1 child under the car, and they were then taken by the ambulance crews straight to hospital. A paramedic was also hit, who was on his bike, a paramedic on a bike. He was hit and knocked down, but it was discovered that his injuries were none too serious. So a bit of information there, but let's cross now to Peter Kirkham, who's a former detective chief inspector with the Met Police. Hi there, Peter.
Good evening.
There wasn't much information there from the police, more in fact from the fire service and the ambulance service.
Yes, the fire service and the ambulance service, they've sort of done their bit, and so they know what they've got in terms of information and can decide how much of that they're going to share. The police are still at the beginning of their investigation. And what they won't do is release information that they're not sure of. Otherwise, it leads to problems further along the line, should there be any criminal or other court proceedings. If the police have said things that then turn out not to be correct. They've been bitten like that a few times in the past. And so despite the pressure for them to constantly be telling more and more and more, they will only reveal information at the appropriate time when they're satisfied that it is actually correct.
What they did say was that they arrested that 53-year-old white British man at the scene, and they believe him to have been the driver. Many people commenting, Peter, at that description that was put out. It's unusual to have the skin colour of somebody mentioned at this point. Why would that have been the case, do you think?
Because of the irresponsible behaviour of people on social media and some in the mainstream media, which we saw with the incident only down the road in Southport.
So this would have been a deliberate policy to say, right, this is not, this is somebody who was a local Liverpudlian white British man, and to stop that in its tracks, to stop the anger, the unnecessary violence.
Absolutely. And we've seen that with various different aspects of policing over the last few years. Any terrorist incident or potentially terrorist incident, the police, if they've not got any grounds to think it's terrorism, will say so really early on, couched in terms at this stage and on the information we know at the moment, but they'll get that out a lot quicker than they used to. It's quite sad, really, that the police are trying to second-guess what the social media commentators and the mainstream, some of the mainstream media will be doing with the information, rather than concentrating on doing their job.
Yeah, I mean, I've already seen, actually, Peter, although it was very clear, the police were very clear to say this was a 53-year-old white British man. I've already seen people willfully remove the word white while they're tweeting and saying, oh, well, what do they mean by a British man? Well, it's very clear by this description what they meant by a British man, but people are already willfully just lying about it to stir up trouble.
Sadly, there are racists amongst us.
We've been told the police do not suspect terrorism, that the anti-terror police were there. They've said, no, we're at this stage ruling this out. What will be happening to the suspect at this point? Will they still be questioning him? Will he be allowed a break? What is the process?
I'd be very surprised if he's been questioned very much at all so far. One line of inquiry that's always going to be the case where you've got a vehicle coming into contact with pedestrians and a crowd in this case. Obviously, the main question is, why did this happen? Was it deliberate, or was it an accident of some sort? Was there a vehicle defect of some sort? Did the driver had a medical episode? These are all reasons that cars have gone into crowds and vans have gone into crowds over the years. The vast majority of incidents aren't terrorism and aren't deliberate. They're the other explanations. And so obviously the health of the driver will be something that they're looking at with a view to making sure that all the possible evidence they've got there were they drunk, were they drugged, were they ill in some way, what? And so I would have thought that would be taking up an awful lot of time between now and then. As you say, we're getting late, and it may well be that they'll decide that they'll do the interview after an 8-hour rest period in the morning.
Would it be likely that this driver was taken straight to a hospital for those checks?
It's impossible to say. Possibly, possibly not. Depends entirely on what presented to the officers at the time, and probably the advice of medical staff that were present at the scene within seconds. So the police will have some indication of any issues that are there.
And we notice from the scene right now that it did start to rain after this incident had happened. The police have used a very large, it looks like an inflatable tent of some description. I presume that's covering the car to protect any evidence that there may be on the vehicle.
That would certainly be the usual situation if the vehicle's still present at the scene, for it to be covered with a tent to preserve evidence, particularly, as you say, if it's raining.
And what will be the process of the car now? I mean, clearly they don't look as though they're going to be moving that tonight. Will they keep it in situ until the morning? Will they be getting specialists, mechanical forensic people through, or will that be checked somewhere else?
It will be done somewhere else. The detailed examination of the vehicle in a situation like this. They will probably keep it at the scene overnight, not just to preserve evidence on the vehicle, but to be to be sure that they're not destroying any evidence in removing the vehicle, because it will be probably lifted onto a low loader. And so that low loader will have to get close to the vehicle. So they'll need to clear a route in for that low loader and do all that. And these things are always done better in daylight than at night. If it needs to be done at night, it'll be done at night, but they'll probably wait until the morning, I would have thought.
And how much does rain really adjust any forensics? Is that the worst thing you can see at an incident like this, is for rain to come down?
You don't want anything interfering with your scene, if at all possible. Obviously, the weather is one aspect, wild animals and pets that are out on the street are another, people are the third, and believe it or not, you can have 2.5 miles of blue and white tape across the street and someone will still want to push through it and come through the scene. So there's a variety of ways in which that evidence can be damaged. The weather is the most difficult, I guess. Wild animals aren't far behind it. But at least with the weather, you can cover any items that are particularly going to be important and particularly prone to being damaged by the rain. Or, if need be, those items can be removed immediately it becomes apparent it's going to start raining, if they can't be properly protected in situ.
And how much witness testimony is going to be important? Because, I mean, it would appear that the police were very rapidly there. There was a lot of police presence there. Anyway, given the nature of the size of the number of people that were there, but those were dispersed very quickly, those people, because I guess the police were trying to calm the situation down. There was a lot of anger on the street in the immediate aftermath of this incident. Police would have been very keen to get as many people as they can away from the scene. How do they then find them again when they will need that witness testimony? That'll be important, won't it?
It will be important to a certain extent, although with everything on film, and we've heard about footage that's already on YouTube and been there for some time, with footage that's out in the public domain, the witness evidence in terms of the sequence of events is of less importance.
Right.
They will take statements from those that make themselves known, and it may well be that there'll be an appeal later for information about a particular aspect of the incident. One thing I think would be particularly relevant and something that I'd be looking to try and get sorted out as soon as I possibly could, and that is, how did the vehicle start in its heading towards the crowd? Did it suddenly speed up? Was it stationary initially? Did it swerve? We've seen there's movement of the vehicle from side to side during the incident, but how did it actually start? Which would give me some indication of what the problem might be.
And of course, where it started from, presumably.
Exactly.
Because, it seemed from some of the images that I've seen that some of the men that were there did think this vehicle was up to no good, because they began chasing it at one point. I don't know what might have led to them believing that, but it seems extraordinary, Peter, and a lot of people also asking, in a massive crowd like this, 1.2 million people plus, in a relatively small city, how did this car even get close to crowds? We know now, sadly, that cars are being used in some cases. As we said, we don't know this for sure here, but we do know that they're being used as weapons, and that many places would put bollards on streets. They would make it absolutely impossible. Even if this was an accident, what was that vehicle doing, able to get that close to this many people? And many people will be asking the police and the council and the organisers of this parade how that was able to happen.
The first point is, it's almost impossible to totally secure any public event of any significant size. We've got a route here that goes on for some distance. I've counted up something like 60 or so roads actually joining the parade route, and I suspect there were concrete bollards at some of those, but we're talking about a road that's sort of back a little bit, 50 metres away from the route itself. And I suspect those roads were left open. Otherwise, with the shape of the route being a sort of 2.5 sides of a circle, really, it would close off so much of the city centre, it would bring life other than the parade to an absolute standstill. And so what would normally happen is that the actual focus of the event will be secured to a higher standard, and then the routes a little way away will probably still be open to a certain extent, maybe even as diversionary routes for the closed main roads that are part of the parade route. The footage looks like it's people moving away from the parade route itself. And so we hear that the bus itself, that's the only thing that's going to happen on the parade route. The bus itself had gone by about 10 minutes earlier. And so these people were probably starting to disperse in the way crowds do, milling about across footpaths, pavements, the roads themselves, not particularly paying attention to whether the roads are actually closed to traffic. I mean, I've been involved in incidents in the past where traffic starts getting swamped by pedestrians coming away from an event, and then drivers start getting irate and taking matters into their own hands. We've seen it with the protesters on the M25 and such like. But I don't think this, you could realistically expect the police to, or anybody organising the event, to be putting total vehicle protection this far back up every single street that this route goes through and past.
Yeah, it just seems that you know, with this many people around, those questions will have to be asked and answered. If this was your incident, what, aside from where the vehicle started from and those questions, what other questions would you be asking of yourself and of your team?
The team's going to have an awful lot of work to do on routine stuff like interviewing all the people whose names and details are available to the police at the moment, and will come to the notice of police over the next few days as people ring in, call at police stations and such like, with information that they've got. But in this day and age also working their way through all the evidence that they get sent in terms of videos and photographs. As the Assistant Chief Constable said, if you've got footage of any part of this incident, or if you recognise the vehicle and you saw it just a short period before this incident, I'm sure the police will be very, very interested in having any photos or footage of it, and go to the Merseyside Police website and look for a link for submitting video and footage evidence. If you can't find it, dial 101 and ask for Merseyside Police.
And will the public be asked as well to look at their CCTV footage and to check anything during that time period, maybe from shops or restaurants or bars?
Yeah, very, very locally in the vicinity of the incident, until and unless something comes to notice to suggest something happened elsewhere, some further distance away. It won't be a general appeal for people to check the footage and images they have, unless they happen to be in the actual vicinity of the incident itself in Water Street.
And finally, if I can, I mean, given what we talked about right at the beginning of this interview, and that is the speed at which social media, some of the mainstream media, all of those things move, and the real implication of that information not coming out fast enough from Southport, what do you anticipate we'll see this time? Will we see more updates more quickly?
I think we saw what I expected to see and hear at this stage, which was an update on the injuries, or the severity of the injuries and the number of people in each category, and we got that from the ambulance service, as would normally be the case. We got a little bit of extra information from the fire service about where 4 of the people were, including one of the children, when they arrived, so the vehicle ended up on top of them. And we've seen very little else in terms of the nature of information being provided, other than the very brief description of the individual and where he was from at the time the arrest was made, or almost instantly afterwards. I don't think I would have expected to see much more at this point, because it's going to depend on what is said in interviews, which, as I said, probably won't happen until tomorrow morning at earliest. There probably is going to be more than one interview. They'll check out anything that's said during the first interview to see if there's any contradictions or anything that they need to challenge in a further interview. But they'll also be making sure they take the time that's available to find all possible information to put to the driver in interview, and that will include a mechanical investigation, a forensic mechanical investigation of their vehicle. Traffic patrol officers were very evident at the scene in their white-topped hats. Many of them can do vehicle examinations, but this will eventually end up, if it's of relevance, this will eventually end up at the Forensic Science Laboratory for a forensic mechanical examination. So if that is thought to be part of it, that will be being rushed through tomorrow, overnight, and tomorrow as well, as soon as the vehicle can be moved securely from the scene without destroying any further evidence. The traffic officers will have provided some sort of information. They'll see anything, grossly wrong with the vehicle. Ball tyres and such like that are very visible to any officer who looks around a vehicle, but they won't have gone further than that, and that probably won't happen, like I say, until tomorrow morning. The results of that very early. So don't expect to have major updates from the police other than in relation to the condition and identity of the victims. And the police will not be releasing anything identifying the driver unless and until he's charged, in which case it will be name, age and address.
Peter, thank you so much for your experience in this. It's been fascinating talking to you. Peter Kirkham there, who's a former detective chief inspector with the Metropolitan Police. A quick break, back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, you're with Petri, and we're getting back on track now with the programme, although I think we'll stay pretty much with the topic at hand, as I'm joined by Russ Kane, writer, broadcaster and celebrant. Thank you for joining me.
I would say it's a pleasure, but it seems an odd phrase.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously this incident in Liverpool happened at around 6 o'clock, so all of the newspapers, I think, bar none. Oh no, they're all from what I can see, covering
apart from the FT.
Apart from the FT, covering the incident at Liverpool. Look, we can't speculate. We don't really know what's going on. Peter Kirkham there, being very calm and saying, look, we won't actually know anything.
It was very circumspect, extremely professional. Yeah. You expect from something like that. The press conference, with the greatest will in the world, said
nothing. Well, we got it we got the information about the injuries and the from the fire brigade as well, but not much from the police. But again, we expect a lot, don't we? We want to be told everything, but they don't know everything.
They're not magic.
No.
They're human beings. They're working like you and I would work in a more professional way because we're not policemen. But they can't just invent, they're not going to invent it, they've got to investigate it properly. And this is the problem with rolling news, 24-hour news. And this is the real problem with social media. We've got to know now. No, you don't. Things take time.
And there are procedures.
And there's things to go through properly.
Yeah.
Or do you just drag people up and hang them from a lamppost? No, we don't want that. Thank you very much.
No, and that is the interesting thing, isn't it? I've seen. I was saying to Peter that I've looking through X and all of those social media things, people willfully. Because the police immediately said a white British man, and they are willfully removing the word white and going, what do they mean by a British man? It is very clear that they are just doing that to stir up trouble. Now, it is stark. It was, for me as an old hack, you don't normally get a skin colour
immediate
description. It's immediate. So that was interesting, but clearly it was to say this isn't Southport. Stop. Because we don't want that again.
If they hadn't done what they did at Southport, if they hadn't treated the British population like a bunch of muppets and lied and lied and lied, then the British public, when something revolting like this happens, will not instantly be thinking, oh, another Welsh choir boy.
Yeah.
And it could well be that is just a white British guy. Who knows? He may have had a heart attack.
We don't know.
You don't know.
We don't know. And that's, again, what Petrie Hosken was saying. He's saying, look, you know, that they will go through, they will, you know, I suppose like a doctor does, if you go in and you say you don't feel very well, they start to get, you know, to knock out all those things that it could be. So they'll be instantly checking his, whether he was drinking, whether he'd been taking drugs, whether he was ill, whether the car was in some way broken. Yeah.
Look,
we don't know anything
this
yet.
sounds, there's no clever way to say this. I'm just going to say the best scenario is terrible for everybody involved. Right? Let's put that to one side. We know that. The best scenario, there was some horrendous mechanical failure. These days, to be honest, they're pretty rare. I mean, they really are.
They really are.
You know, what's going to happen? Your brakes are going to fail. When's the last time you knew anybody whose brakes failed?
Yeah.
Or accelerator got stuck wide open? It doesn't really happen. But that would be the best case. It would be horrible, but at least there's some logic. There's a huge vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. And that's why everyone's wanting answers. Sometimes there just aren't answers.
No, well, I don't even think they want the truth, actually, a lot of people. They just want to feed some sort of horrible nationalist narrative. But it seems that you know, we always say, nowadays, because we see this happening because of social media, because it's so quick, the police response seemed to be absolutely almost perfect.
They were there.
Because of the crowds,
they were right there. All the paramedics were right there, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine, you've got 1.2 million people or whatever it was, and you couldn't get through, that would be horrendous.
Yeah.
That would be horrendous.
They had St John's ambulance there as well. They had loads of people there.
Everybody was there, and it looks like everybody did a bang-up job, because they were there in, what, 3 minutes? You can't get much quicker than that, for heaven's sake. You know, and the other thing, I mean, whatever the police do, whatever they do, they're not my favourite people in the world, but I will always support them. Always. Thank God they were by that car. Because the crowd, you don't even want to think what would have happened.
No.
That's, you know, you just don't want to go down that road.
Yeah.
So they had an incredibly hard job. Don't you think? It was really
incredible. I mean, that they managed to calm down that situation as quickly as they did, I think is testament to them, and potentially the numbers of them that were there. But there are eyewitness reports. The Times here reporting horror at Liverpool parade.
Yep.
One witness claimed that the driver had left a nearby Hooters bar and appeared drunk. Crowds were shouting at him as he got into his car. They said he then started driving erratically and then drove at pedestrians. The driver's door has been seen being wrenched open, and then the car speeds into several screaming fans.
It says I don't know how witnesses said the pedestrians had been remonstrating, politely put, with the driver before he put his foot to the floor. You don't know. We went there, collided with dozens of pedestrians. Maybe he was just totally drunk. Who knows?
Who knows? The police restrained.
Just had a grudge with life. Who the hell knows?
Police restrained people who were smashing the car. A witness said a video showed officers wielding batons and shouting at angry fans to get back. A man was hauled into a police van. I mean, look. The first place we go to is a very dark place, isn't it, when something like this happens?
Absolutely.
Because cars are used as weapons. We see it all the time.
We see it all the time. We see it in Europe. They did it in the big parade in the States not that long ago.
Yeah, that was New Orleans, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was New Orleans.
I think it was.
Yeah, it was New Orleans. Yeah. And you wouldn't want to be the managing director of Hooters either right now. I mean,
no, not right now.
That's the sort of thing you don't want.
No. So look, that's the Times. Let's have a quick look at the Telegraph. Again, Liverpool glory turns to horror.
Yep.
Car plows into a football title parade, leaving dozens hurt. Awful. Lots of images there as well, which are quite revolting. Another story, though, on the front. Reeves needs a 30 billion tax raid to pay for benefit giveaways. Rachel Reeves being forced towards a tax raid of up to £30 billion by benefit giveaways. This is to restore the winter fuel payments, which wasn't that big, and to review the 2-child benefit cap.
Right.
So, yeah, what do we make of that?
Well, it's Rachel Reeves. What's she doing? What is she doing here?
Well, she already raised
on a
a record 40 billion last year, so she's going to come at us for more in October.
Not a clue. Not a clue. National insurance, VAT, the manifesto pledge, not worth. Well, it could be written on Bronco, couldn't it? It's really not worth. It's not worth. I mean, what times are we living in?
I literally, I think we slipped
I'm
into
looking
an
at your
alternative.
face tonight, and your face is completely mirroring how I'm feeling inside, but I'm trying to put a brave face on because it's driving me crazy. It's
I don't even know where we are.
everybody crazy.
Yeah. I don't even know where we are. I don't know
Nobody
what
knows
timeline we're
anything.
in. I don't know.
No one knows anything anymore.
No, it is extraordinary.
These times, they will look... When history reviews these times, generally, this period that we're living through, they'll think the world had a complete nervous breakdown.
And we've just slipped into a different...
I don't understand it. Right is wrong, wrong is right.
Yeah.
Complete lunatics running around. I don't understand it at all.
No, I don't.
The thing about that no one ever says about the ambulance people and the police, and I feel really strongly about it. No one ever says they're just people. You know, they get out of bed, say goodbye to their family, and they go off to work. It's as horrible and horrifying for them as for the people in the... Not as for the people who are hit, obviously. That's the worst. But it's ghastly for them.
And they've given their lives to service.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
Yes, they have.
Yeah. And we would do well to remember that when everybody's hating on them.
Well, yeah.
What about this story, though?
What's that?
Tories tell Boris Johnson, don't come back.
There's this myth that if he comes... There's a myth, right?
If he comes back, they'll win.
This careful.
I nearly said it.
You nearly did.
I nearly said it.
You nearly did a rowing term there, closely associated with, or not. This is... Look, I'd love to have dinner with him because I'm sure he's the most entertaining fellow. Yeah. Do I want this guy running, being the head of any party?
I wouldn't let him carry my shopping.
It would be an entertaining walk to your car. You know, because I'd pay to be a fly on the wall with you just mouthing off at Boris Johnson.
Shouting at Boris Johnson.
This is some, you know, it's like becoming like an urban legend. He's done. Go and, you know, write books, have kids, make a fortune doing what you do. It's enough, isn't it?
That's enough. We don't want any more Johnsons around.
What's going on here?
We don't want any
What's
more.
missing is Joan Collins.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear they're saying, yeah, please don't come back. There's no appetite. No, it's not going to work.
No, I don't think so either. Although some people are going, oh, he's our only chance. You go, no, he really can't stop it. Don't go there.
I think the only chance is a trip to Lourdes. Sprinkle yourself with holy water and hope for the best.
And hope for the best.
Yeah.
Right, let's take a quick break. Russ and I'll be back in just a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Don't throw it back at me.
Hello, no, not quite. Hello there. It's Petrie here with you, and with me is Russ Kane, writer, broadcaster, and a celebrant. Actually, no, we won't. We'll do that story from the Independent. I think I was going to just look at a nib on the Times, on the Telegraph, but we won't. Let's have a look at the Independent. There's my favourite person, Donald Trump.
Well, yeah.
He's this is. I find this really interesting, that he's described Putin as absolutely crazy, and Putin has described him as being overly emotional. So it looks like the bromance is over.
Yeah. Are you the first for it?
No, he said he's been too emotional. He's getting too emotional. A bit emotional.
But you know, when you're dealing with someone like Putin, he doesn't have emotions.
He doesn't have. He's a robot.
He couldn't care less.
Couldn't care less. He does not want peace. He's not interested in peace. He's made that completely clear. If he wanted peace, all he's got to do is stop shooting, because the Ukrainians are defending themselves. They are not attacking. But there was a very interesting thing that I noticed just before I came into the studio. In fact, I'm looking at it to do it tomorrow night. Is that Ukraine's Western allies have agreed to lift all range limits on their weapons after Trump issued his strongest criticism of Putin yet. Now, Trump won't like being called emotional by his boyfriend, so there's definitely going to be a spat there. But this is fascinating, the fact, because a lot of people don't realise this, that a lot of the weapons that we've given to Ukraine, we have limited their use on them.
Thank heavens.
We have said to them, you mustn't shoot into Russia with these weapons. The only weapons that they have used have been their own, their drones. But now Germany has said that those restrictions have now been lifted, so Ukraine can defend itself properly.
There's something I could say, but I'm really biting my tongue. I won't say it.
They need to defend themselves properly.
No, they totally need to defend themselves.
And they can't do that.
They're having the you-know-what beaten out of them.
Yeah.
And the guy could stop. I mean, the whole thing is...
The guy could just stop.
He could say, you know, enough's enough.
No, he wants the whole of Ukraine.
He's not going to get the whole of Ukraine. No, well, I mean, this was always going to be a deal.
He thinks if he keeps going...
Yeah, they'll cave, I suppose.
America will give up supporting
them. They will.
And they've got close to it, but of course Trump flip-flops. But J.D. Vance said before the last conversation that Trump and Putin had, you know, if they can't reach a deal, we'll just back off. We'll just walk away. And of course, Putin would have heard that, would have known that, and was thinking, well, I don't need to bother them. And all they talked about in that 2-hour conversation, by the way, was trade.
That's what it's all about. It's only about money. It's only about minerals and mineral rights and stuff under the ground and money.
That's disgusting, isn't it?
That's what all wars are.
Yeah.
You know, unless someone's going to come in and, you know, storm-troop their way through London.
But this could change everything.
Well, it will if they start hitting Russia. This is going to. I don't even want to think about it.
They start hitting Moscow. Well, yeah, but I mean, look,
they can't do that.
Yes, but look, it's we all. This is what drives me nuts. Everybody thinks that Ukraine should just suck it up and take it. Russia is bombing city after city after city and going, well, you're not allowed to bomb us. Why? I mean, it's ridiculous. You cannot ask Ukraine to defend itself with one hand tied behind its back, and that's what we've been doing.
Only because nobody wants it to get any...
Yes, but we're happy to sacrifice Ukrainians.
Well, I'm not.
Well, we must be if we're all going, no, come on, because we're saying, yeah, but we don't want them hitting into Russia because it will get nastier.
Because you don't want to poke the bear.
No, but on whose behalf? On ours?
Well, kind of.
Yeah, well, that's asking Ukraine to sacrifice themselves for us, isn't it?
Do you know what?
Isn't
it's above my pay grade.
But
I mean, seriously, it's above my... I try and wrap my head around it.
We're saying it's all right for Ukraine to take all of this so that we don't have to. That's what we're saying. And we're tying their hand behind their back.
Well, you don't want them to start hitting Finland and everything like that.
No, of course not.
No,
but so we're just allowing Ukraine to be the sponge to soak it up.
OK, so what would you suggest?
Look,
suddenly there's a magic wand, you're in charge, what are you going to do?
I would have Putin stop attacking. but he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. So I would allow Ukraine to hit back.
The kids he's sending to, let's call it the front for, you know, to the war, they don't want to. Do you think they want to be there?
No, of course they don't.
It's the last thing they want.
No, of course they don't. But if he isn't stopped now, he won't be stopped. And that's the truth of it. Look at him over Crimea. That's all I wanted was Crimea. I won't be coming back for any more. He won't be stopped. So we either do it now or we do it in the future. Which one? Either do it now or in 5 years' time.
Well, it's like, what was it? Like ripping off a Elastoplast, isn't it, really? It depends, but it depends. This is a guy with no, you know, ice runs through his veins.
He doesn't care. No.
Whatsoever.
He doesn't care how many people die. He doesn't care how many...
Doesn't bother him at all.
No.
What are you going to do? You're going to turn around, you're going to complain to him, and 2 minutes later you're falling out of a window mysteriously.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's not like the West.
So I hang around in a basement.
Or, don't even really. Prison staff crisis. Blame for surge in inmate affairs. Come on.
Oh yeah, number of prison officers investigated for inappropriate relationships with inmates has tripled in 5 years. Figures from jails in England and Wales have uncovered a surge in staff investigated for corruption, with those probed.
Probably not the best phrase.
It's not the best phrase to use, is it? They're also being probed by the prisoners.
It would appear.
They appear to be being probed.
It's still not. It's not staggering. It's gone from 50 before everyone gets hysterical. It's 51 2020 to 144 last year. You know, how many people are in jail?
80,000.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's 80,000 people.
Yeah, it's true. Teenagers with no experience beyond Saturday jobs are being recruited to work in potentially dangerous jobs. I mean, look, that is a thankless blooming task, isn't it? I feel so sorry for prison guards. I really do.
The worst.
Awful job.
The worst.
They got no support. They're being paid absolute rubbish.
And you haven't even got Ronnie Barker to talk to.
I know, and you're not even respected in the community. So
no,
what's the point of it?
It's seen as like it's horrible. It's what a thankless task.
job, and thank goodness they do it actually.
Yeah, well, thank God somebody does.
Yeah, but yeah, I really do have nothing but support for those men and women. The Guardian again reflecting that horror. Leading lawyers urge UK to put sanctions on Israel. The UK must put sanctions on the Israeli government and its ministers and consider suspending it from the United Nations.
Really?
800 lawyers.
800 lawyers.
Retired
Love to see their names.
Yeah, a letter to Keir Starmer. They were, well, talk about something that's got to change there. God knows what.
Right.
The Metro.
Hey, Putin's gone absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Putin.
3 years of war, 200,000 deaths and a huge new blitz as Russia stalls on talks. Trump finally gets it. Trump has finally delivered a damning verdict on Vladimir Putin. He's gone absolutely crazy. It wasn't that damning, actually. I heard it.
But you know what? He's not crazy.
He just doesn't care.
It's so easy to say, oh, someone's crazy. They're a mad dictator. It's like, it's nothing like that at all. He knows exactly what he's doing.
He knows exactly what he's doing. He's cold, as you said.
When you're dealing with someone who has no fear and he's got no comeback. Just does what he wants.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you're absolutely right on that, and that's why he can't be stopped.
200,000 people have died. Gee
I think that's a very low estimate.
You reckon?
Yeah,
it probably is.
I really do.
Anyway, I'm pleased finally the Daily... Are we all right?
Yeah.
Oh, Daily Mail. I'm loving this Macron thing.
I know. I was just reading
I'm loving every second of it.
What is this going on?
Well, he's French.
So, Macron's wife is seen to
smack him right
push his face with an open palm.
Yeah.
At a conference, wasn't it, or something?
They're in the plane. They're coming down to wherever the hell they're coming down from. I don't know, Croydon or somewhere romantic. I have no idea, and I don't care. And they're coming down the plane. She's slightly out of shot because you got the door and the steps, right? And you see this arm, and she just goes straight for his face.
Yeah.
Wowzer! I loved it.
Yeah, we haven't got a clue what's going on with that. But yeah, it looks a little uncomfortable.
It looks really, really... And there's fabulous Photoshop pictures of him with a great big handprint.
He's saying it was nothing, isn't he?
It was nothing. Yeah. That ain't nothing.
Well...
Oh, no. Come on. You're on the world stage. You're about to come down as 8 billion reporters.
The question for me is, who on the plane took that photograph and released
it wasn't from the plane, it was from the ground.
Oh, it was on the ground.
You could see it.
Oh.
Had it been a few feet either way, the fuselage would have hidden the whole thing. You wouldn't have known. But they were standing partly in the door, about to come down, and wallop.
But it doesn't look like a slap because her fingers are open. We've got the footage. Let's have a look. I'm sorry for those of you who are listening to this on radio, but we do have the footage. I've not seen this before, so there's no audio. So the door. Oh yeah.
You see, here he is. Hi. Hello.
And then he
everybody.
goes back to talk to her.
I'm French.
Yeah. Here we go again. He's standing there.
And wait for it. There you go.
There you go.
Boom.
She seems to be not slapping him, but pushing his head back.
Well, it ain't.
And then he rather embarrassedly.
Hi, sorry about that.
Yeah, it doesn't look affectionate.
It was really not affectionate, was it?
That's. And then he goes to talk to her, maybe.
And then she's like, I'm not coming out.
And then, do they know it's been seen yet? Probably not.
Oh, I bet they don't know it's been seen. Fabulous.
She always looks so elegant, though.
Well, she's French.
Yeah, she's French.
French women always look elegant.
She looks great. Flared trousers.
No, well, if she can't, she's got to look. She's got to look good. I presume, French does want to have 1 or 2 fashion designers to hand.
1 or 2.
So she probably gets on.
But they're not holding hands coming down the steps.
Holding hands. They should be holding throats. The way this is going.
Well, we'll wait and see. I'm sure they'll say that it was absolutely nothing.
It was affectionate.
It was affectionate. That's what it was.
That's why we can't believe anything that you hear.
No, you certainly not from.
Can I ask a very silly question? And I'm not being facetious when I say this. Immediately, every paper, everyone says driver 53. How immediately do they know he's 53?
Almost
Is that
straight
the police
away.
thing?
Yeah, that was the police.
Thing.
That police released that information.
They get his info and
they probably had his driver's license, and that was it.
Okie dokes.
So they knew immediately, and they released it straight away.
Okay.
Let's take a break because we're coming up against it. So a quick break, and back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Talk, and it's Petri here, and with me is Russ Kane, and we're going through the newspapers for Tuesday. So the Sun newspaper, of course the Sun has a difficult relationship with Liverpool.
I was trying not to go there, and I thought I'll take my lead from you. The Sun have to be really careful.
Really careful with Liverpool after the way they reported the Hillsborough tragedy.
They never forgave them.
And of course they never forgave them, and why would they? I mean, you know, I get it completely. Horror as car hits cop fans. At least 30 people were injured when a car ploughed into Liverpool fans. We know there was 27 were taken to hospital, 20 were treated at the scene, and 2, including a child, are seriously injured. 4 were discovered underneath the vehicle.
I mean, that's...
and the fire brigade actually were the ones that removed
when I was outside and I was listening to that bit, that was the bit.
That was horrendous.
And the kids, come on, you know, they must have been so excited.
Exactly. The beginning of half term.
You know, and their team's there, and it's a day they don't want to forget. Now they're not going to forget it for all completely the wrong blooming reasons.
And you know, again, the Sun reiterating that it was a local man.
Oh yes, yes.
And
local.
Everyone will know who he is, presumably. Liverpool's not a big city. You know Liverpool,
no,
don't you?
People in London get very
less
confused.
than 500,000 people.
Yeah, it's really. It's a great place, by the way. It is. I spent quite a bit of time.
A superb photograph. I knew you'd spent a bit of time in Liverpool.
It's got real heart.
That's what everyone says.
It's got a real heart. They are proud to be Liverpudlians. Really proud.
I really want to go to Liverpool.
They've put a fortune into the place. It looks.
That was the EU put the fortune into the place, actually.
I can't hear you, sorry.
Well, it was.
No,
I had that confirmed from my lovely Liverpool listeners the other day, saying exactly that. But the police there are. You can see there the police holding the crowds back as the police have first must be fairly new onto the scene, I would have thought, after what had happened. So there you go, that's the Sun covering.
And of course, it's a great big heavy car, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a people carrier.
People carrier.
So it's a big one.
Right, we've done the Mail. The FT, as you said, is a
no
different.
Whatsoever.
EU countries push for swift deal with Washington to head off heavy tariffs. That's that 50% tariff that Trump said, even though didn't he give us a 90-day pause on tariffs, but then he's changed his mind again.
Probably. That was yesterday.
That was
another
there's
day.
Been a whole hour since then.
Wind's changed direction. Who the hell knows?
Who the hell knows?
Had a bad sandwich for lunch. Things are changing.
Who knows?
Yeah, the great thing about the FT, whenever I do this gig, is I don't understand. TMTG. I didn't even understand the headline.
That's
TMTG.
That's the Trump's media group.
To raise $3 billion for crypto splurge.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
Trump Media and Technology Group, which is behind the Truth Social app.
Truth Social.
Controlled by Donald Trump's family, aims to raise $2 billion in equity and $1 billion via a convertible bond, according to 6 people briefed on the matter. Sounds really like they're making money out of the Trump name, which I didn't think was allowed during the presidency.
Surely not.
But there you
and
go.
There's a little thing here, and you and I are like normal people, and we just go to the supermarket and buy our stuff, right? So I did today. Food price rises quicken. You go to the supermarket, you think, and I take the stuff off the shelf. Like, I'm talking about ordinary stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Not artisan nonsense grown on the West Hill of Peru between 3 and 4 in the afternoon. And you think, I'm not paying that. I put it back.
I know.
I keep putting stuff back.
It is getting stupid.
It's getting nuts.
I haven't increased my weekly spending on food because that's the budget. But what I get for it now is less and less.
Well, I don't know what people are supposed to do.
I really don't know either. I don't know. And with the threat of more tax on us as well, it just
give up.
Yeah, I mean, they're saying, "Oh, you'll feel better off." I mean, when?
You won't feel better off. You'll feel hungry.
Yeah.
And more miserable.
Yeah.
Nightmare at the Liverpool parade. These photos. Oh dear God. Right.
Yeah. There's the police there, ambulances, empty streets, lots of cops.
And I suppose on a really human level, people are so cheesed off and fed up for a variety of reasons. Here's something, I'm not into football, but I know billions of people are, all right? here's something really that they just wanted to celebrate. Couldn't they just have one day of something nice?
Yeah,
and
it is.
enjoy themselves.
I know.
That's
Like I
what's
said,
so vile.
a bank holiday, beginning of the half term.
They just want a big thing. It's their team. They love this team. It's like a religion up there for Liverpool, and boom. That's the horrible juxtaposition of it.
Interesting, though, Russ, to have a look at the large photograph on the front of the mirror there. In the background, there's Hooters.
Well, that doesn't
ring true then, does it? It can't. Mind you, there's a Hooters. There it is again with the car. And the Hooters sign is in the background, and the car. But he can't have been parked that close.
They can't have just left there and driven off. That doesn't make any sense at all, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It's a bit difficult to describe, but geographically, he couldn't have done that.
No, I wouldn't have thought so. But maybe there's another Hooters bar. I don't know.
Who the heck knows? I don't know.
Yeah. Fans swarm over the vehicle as it comes to rest, and the police are there immediately.
They
really didn't muck about, did they?
The world's worst job, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
To do that, because that would have been, well, we know what would have happened.
Yeah.
No ifs or buts.
So that's the Mirror nightmare at the Liverpool parade. Liverpool's championship parade turned to horror as a car ploughed into fans, leaving victims strewn across the road. I mean, some of the images as well.
We were talking about dogs.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were.
So when you work like a dog, Petrie Hosken, man's best friend suffers with you.
How do we know that?
Because it says so here, it must be true. Because it says so.
I love that.
I know.
So they know that my dogs know how hard I work.
Of course they do. They do.
They only care if they can have a sausage when I get home. That's it. That's why I think I maintain that's why they're so excited to see me when they get home.
This girl, she's back. Food. She's back.
She's back. We're going to get a sausage.
Pretend
because she feels guilty.
Pretend.
Yeah.
Just get the food. Get the food.
No, I think they know when you're sad.
Of course they do.
But I don't know whether they appreciate hard work.
Dogs are becoming stressed as a result of their owners' work-related anxiety. If you watch any of those, like that guy Graham, who I just love with the dogs, he says, the dog can feel through the lead. If you're walking a dog, they will feel your anxiety. If you're a nervous dog owner, don't know what the hell you're doing, they feel that.
I think, no, do you know what? I buy that because I believe that the reason Bailey goes for the biggest dog in the park...
You know why? Because you're going to do that.
No, because he knows that I'm stressed about the biggest dog in the park, so he's defending me from the biggest dog in the park, which of course is what I don't want him to do, which is what makes me stressed in the first place. But he reads that as, I'm going to protect you from this dog, Mummy, don't worry. And then I'm going, no, that's not what I want you to do. What I want you to do is not attack the biggest dog in the park because you're a Shih Tzu.
Precisely.
And you're tiny.
You're a little thing.
You're a little thing.
But he
goes for the biggest dog.
He also knows that Mummy is going to defend him.
Yeah.
So if he was off the lead, whoa, hang on, big guy, don't look at me like that.
He goes for the no, he did it the other day, and I ran over to him and slipped over and fell over.
Oh.
Yeah, but anyway.
But you're young, you slipped over. You didn't. No one said, Petrie, she's had a fall.
Taken a fall.
She's had a fall.
Yeah, I was chatting about that with my friend the other day. When do you take a fall?
My age.
Instead of falling?
Well,
at what age do you take a fall?
I've now passed into, he's had a fall. It's true. It's like, that's when you give up.
That's when you know. That's when you know. When you take a fall rather than you fall over. Russ Kane, thank you so much for coming in. It's been an absolute pleasure. Russ Kane, writer, broadcaster and celebrant there. Right, coming up in the next hour, I really just want to talk to you and reflect on what has happened in Liverpool. Of course, I'd love to hear from you if you live in Liverpool. And just explain to me how you're feeling about this and if you were there, what your reaction was to it and what your reaction is to it today. Look, we can't speculate, but how will Liverpool respond to this as a city? How will you... we know that you're an amazing bunch of people and that you'll all pull together. We've seen it from you before. Is that what's going to happen now? It's been calm overnight. Nobody's reacted, it seems, in any aggressive way so far. What can we expect from Liverpool? And what do you make of it? It's just so sad, isn't it, that it went from such celebration and joy for that city into something that now has to be investigated. Stay where you are. We'll talk about that.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week, the one show where you do not have to be worried about judgmental people because we'll do all the judging for you. Let's just have a look at how Humsley Useless is now spending his time.
There goes your career, mate.
Over there a bit is over towards where all the migrants come in. He's jumping there. There he goes. He goes over the bar.
Hello,
and
lady.
unfortunately, it catches on his Johnson.
If he's plank of the week, he's got a sizable plank.
That's a whole different show.
Plank of the Week, Fridays at 7 on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, this is Petri with you for the next hour, and we are going to reflect, I think, on what happened in Liverpool at 6 o'clock yesterday, just yesterday evening, and I'd love to hear your take on this, particularly if you are from Liverpool. Maybe you witnessed something, maybe you saw something, maybe you were there. It just really gives us a chance to talk about it and how we respond to it. And I think that's the beauty of phone-in radio on a day like today, is that we might be in a bit of shock, we might be a bit stunned, we might be a bit upset and unhappy, and it's good to talk. It's just good to talk, and this is your platform to do just that. You know, were you there? Did you see this thing happen? What does Liverpool feel like right now? How will it respond as a city in the coming days and weeks? I mean, I think that the release of the man, he won't be named until he's charged. He's unlikely to have been interviewed during the evening. He's more likely to have had health checks and things like that, to check his blood alcohol level, whether there was any drugs involved, whether he had a heart attack or a stroke or something physical, medical occurred to him to create this incident, or whether it was deliberately done. You know, they'll be checking the car as well. That won't be checked thoroughly probably until later on today. It won't be checked as thoroughly on site. It'll have to be moved to a special forensic area. It depends really what is said in the interview and what state the driver is now in. The police say they arrested a 53-year-old white British male, a local Liverpudlian, who they believe was the driver of the vehicle. They know they've got their man, so to speak, and it'll just be now as a case as to what happens during the interview process. There's nothing to say that this was a deliberate act. There's nothing to say that this wasn't a deliberate act. The police, of course, will take their time, but they did release the description of this man almost straight away because they didn't want a repeat of what happened in Southport, where of course they were being really minxy with the information. They weren't treating us like adults. They weren't giving us the information. What's interesting about this now that they've said this was a white British man, is, God forbid, the next time something happens and they don't describe the skin colour. I'm just saying that you get one go at this, right? So next time that they don't say, if they don't say it's a white man, then we know it wasn't. So I don't know where this sets us up in the future, but there is no doubt that giving that information as quickly as they did, I think probably quashed any social media warriors trying to stir up trouble, although I've seen those that have already, who have deliberately omitted the word white from their statement, even though that was immediately handed out by the police. There was no other statement given about this man except for that full description of a white 53-year-old local Liverpudlian British man. So it's just an interesting aside from me, really, that just occurred to me that if anything were to happen again and the description isn't given like that, then that kind of leaves them exposed, doesn't it? Ernie said the same thing pretty much. He says, hi Petrie, it was good that they released that it was a white Liverpudlian straight away. It probably eased a lot of speculation, but would they have done that if it had been an Asian man? I doubt it, and that's the result of two-tier policing. It doesn't work. I don't think it's the result of two-tier policing, Ernie, but I do agree with you that they've got themselves, because of what happened in Southport, the police have got themselves into an incredibly difficult situation, because it is unusual to get skin colour. You would normally hear about, I don't know, a murder or a mugging or a crime being committed, and they will just say a man in a black hoodie. They won't necessarily always give the alleged perpetrator an ethnicity. So I don't know whether they've created a rod for their own backs, really. But just to let you know, Liverpool legend Robbie Fowler has said he's absolutely sickened by the news emerging from the city today. The parade incident cast a very dark shadow over what had been a joyous day, says the council leader. Next to speak was the leader of Liverpool City, Liam Robinson. He opened his statement by saying how much our thoughts and prayers are with those affected by this appalling incident in the city centre today. It's cast a very dark shadow over what had been a joyous time. He paid tribute to the emergency services who responded to help the injured, as well as the NHS staff in hospitals who are treating them. 27 people ended up going to hospital. 4 of those people were trapped underneath the car, and 1 of those was a child. In fact, we also heard from the ambulance service in Liverpool, North West Ambulance Service, that a child and 1 other person, their injuries are significant. So there are serious injuries there. Of the 27 people that were admitted to hospital, 20 people were treated at the scene, and others have walked into hospitals subsequently with minor injuries to be treated as well. let's go straight to Liverpool now and speak to Sarah. Hello, Sarah. Good morning.
Morning, Petrie.
Oh, I'm so sorry for Liverpool today. It's so sad, isn't it?
It is very sad. I mean, it's been absolutely and utterly glorious weekend because as well as Liverpool Football Club parading the cup, we also had the Radio 1 Weekender in Sefton Park, which went off without a hitch.
Right.
And we also had the 185th anniversary of Cunard.
Oh,
right. Which is a big
right.
thing in the city. So we had 3 things going on. So everyone was buzzing for whether it be football, music, history, whatever. So that was good. So everyone was in a good mood. And when this happened, I wasn't in town, I have to admit. Even though I've got friends and relatives who are Liverpool fans, I'm an Evertonian. But we all come together in times of strife.
Yes, of course.
And when I heard the news, I thought, what's happened? An incident. But when you start hearing the news, you go, hang on a minute, we all knew. Right across the media in Liverpool, be it social media, radio, the local papers, everyone knows that when there is a big thing going on in town, be it Liverpool parade in the Cup, Eurovision, whatever, you do not drive into town. All the locals know this. And you go, because you will not get out of town, and the only way, the best way without you going hairless is to use public transport, buses, trains.
And our Liverpudlians, would they have been advised not to, or told not to drive near the city, or you just know that you just don't do it?
We just know. I mean, everyone knows that if you've got anyone who's got any common sense, you do not drive into Liverpool when there's a big event going on, because
it's not a big city, right?
It's not. It's actually, as cities go, the actual city centre is very compact. I mean, you could walk from the pier head to the Philharmonic Hall and the 2 cathedrals in about, I'd say, if you had a decent foot under you, 20 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, that is.
And if you want to, and across, you can do the city centre from like Liverpool 1 to the top of Bold Street in about 10. And that's strolling pace.
So it's a relatively small city. Do you know Water Street?
Like the back of my hand.
Right.
I know round that neck of the woods because you've got Dale Street, which leads down from Byram Street and Haymarket, which is about a 5-minute walk away. That comes straight down. Then when you get to the town hall, you've got Castle Street going crossways to the town hall, and then straight down is Water Street. This is why everyone gets confused. You think Water Street's a long road. It isn't. If you're local, you know it isn't. It's just we've all got a lot of short roads in the city centre. And everyone would know not to drive there. And the police are very good because they've policed all kinds of big events before. They've been doing it for years.
Yeah, you're no stranger to it. So
we know it. So why anyone would even think of driving down Dale Street? And the reason why they said his ethnicity was because if you looked at the footage, you could see the driver in the car and he was as pale as pasteurised milk.
Oh, right. So I haven't seen that. Right.
Oh, yeah. I clocked it and I went, oh, yes. But apart from anything else, nobody wants to repeat, and I'll give honour on his juice, especially since Southport, Liverpool police have been very... Whenever there's been suspects, they always say whether they're black, white, Asian, whatever. Oh, yeah. It's been going on for a long time. It's been going on especially since Southport, because no one wants a repeat of the riots.
And this could so easily have kicked off, presumably, because there were loads of, there was loads of drinking going on. There was loads of young men there. There were loads, it could have been a tinderbox.
It could have been. And the one thing that I did notice on the footage was the local lads, when they saw what was going on, they tried to stop this guy going down.
Yeah, they chased the car.
They said, don't go down there. There's people coming up. Because everyone, as soon as the team bus went past, everyone comes up Water Street, Tybarn Street, and James Street. Everyone comes up, and then if they want to go home, they go home. If they want to stay in town, they stay in town. And everyone knows, do not not to drive anywhere near. And the lads were trying to stop him, and they tried to, you could see it from the footage, they were chasing after him. And there's a lot of police around. And we're not going to speculate on why, the whys and wherefores. That's for another time. But what happened afterwards when you saw him going, as he crossed past the town hall down Water Street, and you could see the car, and then it accelerated. Now, that is not for us to even think about what happened, but it could have been a whole hell of a lot worse, because there was a hell of a lot of people. I mean, Water Street is not exactly what you call a wide road. I'd say it's about maybe 30, 40 feet in width.
Gosh. And there's
not that wide.
some speculation in the papers, and I'm a bit confused about this, was suggesting that the driver had left Hooters. Do you know where Hooters is on Water Street?
Yeah, it's actually it's not far. It's not all that far away. Maybe 10 yards away from where people got hit, so we'd have a job going to.
I would agree. That's what I think as well.
Nowhere near Hooters, and to be perfectly honest,
and you wouldn't be. Presumably, there'd be no parking in that area. So
there's no parking at all. I mean, there's car parks, but you wouldn't. But most of
no street parking.
No, street parking in Liverpool, they took away free parking, so there'd be no chance of anyone parking. That was a dead cert, because you'd all get told, no parking, anyone's car who gets parked. If you park on the street, especially round by round that neck of the woods, Water Street, Castle Street, all round there, you'll get your car lifted. So that's a bit of a no-no.
That doesn't make sense.
Got no idea where the city where it is in the city centre.
Yeah, because I saw the photograph and went, oh no, that literally can't have happened. But it's surprising where this car came from and how it seemed to be going slowly and then it seemed to be going faster. But to enter into Water Street, I mean, the questions a lot of people are asking is, why aren't they bollarded, those streets? Why aren't they blocked off?
Well, as I wasn't there, I don't know. But normally, if there is anything going on, you have to have anyone coming up from, say, if there's anything going on around the Strand and the pier head, you have to have free access for people to go back up, and also, more importantly, emergency vehicles to come down in case anyone has a heart attack or there's trouble. You've got
so
to
they have to leave some of the roads open. Yeah,
you have to leave them open, but there's always people now. You just don't even think about it. I mean, if he wanted to get out of the city centre, it would have been easier for him to just go straight from the Haymarket. Never mind, but Dale Street. Go straight from Dale Street up Hatton Garden and then straight along Scotland Road. I mean, if he was if he knew where he was going.
Because presumably the direction of travel, he was going towards roads that were closed.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was looking at the footage. And I'm not going to speculate on the whys and wherefores.
No, but it does seem to have been heading towards an area where he would have been stopped anyway.
I mean, well, that one will come out in the wash.
Yeah. What
happened there. And from some of the... I mean, I don't bother with social media because it's really anti-social media, let's be perfectly honest.
Okay.
It's... and some of the stuff that I've heard from other people that's been said has been... It's been a mischief at best, downright malicious and evil at worst. And for any politician or anyone with a political or ideological axe to grind, I have one word for them: don't bother. Because in this city, you're not going to... We do not like it when people try and divide us, especially at times like this. And anybody who wants to make political capital or ideological capital, they can go and take a run and jump, preferably straight into the Mersey. We'll even give them a concrete boost if they try it. Because we had enough last year. We had enough last year. I mean, the library at the top of my road was the one that got firebombed. And I saw people who were terrified, and nobody in this city wants a repeat of any any nasty little, as we will call them in Liverpool, no marks, whether they wear a three-piece suit or a black hoodie, wanting to cause trouble, because we saw enough last year over what happened in the Southport, and we don't want to repeat. So they can go and take a run and jump. So if Nigel Farage and all the rest of them are, or anyone in the Tory party is listening, would you quietly go and take a vow of silence, because we don't want to know what you're saying?
Yeah, good for you. I absolutely echo that, because there's enough people trying to cause trouble and cause division. I just don't believe that Liverpool is a city that can be divided. I've got...
Not at times like this.
Yeah. So what will it be like for the next few days, Sarah? There'll be obviously a lot of speculation, a lot of people upset, but what's in the Liverpudlians' heart right now?
At the moment, everyone's shocked and stunned, but as soon as everyone's sort of come back down to earth a bit and calmed down, the first thing everyone's going to do is, right, we've got to come together. We can't let we've got to help people. That's the first thing that will happen. People will definitely come together. Anybody who's been hurt, there'll no doubt. I know Everton and Liverpool are coming together, because Everton's put out statements as well.
Yeah.
And no doubt Tranmere Rovers. And if Wrexham are in the Premiership, I'm sure they'll be putting one out and all. But everyone will come together, and we'll do our best to not let this split the city in two.
Yeah, this rises above football, right? This becomes Liverpool issue again, and you've been through so much trauma actually as a city that it's
more than our fair share.
More than your fair, I would agree. But so there'll be lots of charitable thoughts and charitable deeds done in the next few days and weeks.
Definitely. I mean, we saw what happened after the aftermath in Southport and in other awful tragedies and incidents that have happened in this city. And people will come together, and people will have, we're known for having a whip round. So there's no doubt there'll be that, and people helping, and hopefully those who've got footage will hand it into the police. And any statements, go, and would you please go? If anyone's listening, from Liverpool, please go and give your footage and your witness statements into the Merseyside police, so we can get to the bottom of what went on, please.
Yeah, and the sooner that we... Yeah, I think that we need to get through this quickly, don't we, really, as quickly as we can, to get the information that you lot deserve, really.
We do, and if anyone wants to do a hashtag, how about this one? Not in my city.
Good girl. I love you for that. Sarah, thank you. I mean, that's what she's saying. I echo that completely. Any troublemakers who want to make political gain out of this or ideological gain out of it, do one. Nobody's interested in Liverpool. Leave them alone. Right, give me a call. I'd love to hear from you. That was fascinating, just to hear a little bit about Liverpool and where the placing of this road is and all of those things. So if you can add a bit more colour to that, I would really appreciate it. 0344 499 1000, and you can text me as well. You put the word talk and then your message to 87222.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This.
Hello there, this is Talk and it's Petrie here with you until 1 o'clock, and we are reflecting on the incident that happened in Liverpool, and you know, our thoughts are really with those people who are injured, especially two of them who are significantly injured, an adult and a child. And we've heard a little bit more from Keir Starmer. He said that he's spoken to the Liverpool City Regional Mayor, Steve Rotherham, about the terrible events on Monday evening. The Prime Minister praised the remarkable bravery shown by the police and the other emergency services. Everyone, especially children, he said, should be able to celebrate their heroes without this horror. The city has a long and proud history of coming together through difficult times. And he went on to say Liverpool stands together and the whole country stands with Liverpool. Well, earlier on in this programme, I had a chat with an inspector with the Met Police, who's retired now, Peter Kirkham, about what we learnt and what we didn't really find out much about just yet.
Fire service and the ambulance service, they've sort of done their bit, and so they know what they've got in terms of information and can decide how much of that they're going to share. The police are still at the beginning of their investigation, and what they won't do is release information that they're not sure of. Otherwise, it leads to problems further along the line, should there be any criminal or other court proceedings, if the police have said things that then turn out not to be correct. They've been bitten like that a few times in the past. And so despite the pressure for them to constantly be telling more and more and more, they will only reveal information at the appropriate time when they're satisfied that it is actually correct.
What they did say was that they arrested that 53-year-old white British man at the scene, and they believe him to have been the driver. Many people commenting, Peter, at that description that was put out. It's unusual to have the skin colour of somebody mentioned at this point. Why would that have been the case, do you think?
Because of the irresponsible behaviour of people on social media and some in the mainstream media, which we saw with the incident only down the road in Southport.
So this would have been a deliberate policy to say, right, this is not, you know, this is somebody who was a local Liverpudlian white British man, and to stop that in its tracks, to stop the anger, the unnecessary violence.
Absolutely, and we've seen that with various different aspects of policing over the last few years. Any terrorist incident or potentially terrorist incident, the police, if they've not got any grounds to think it's terrorism, will say so really early on, couched in terms at this stage and on the information we know at the moment, but they'll get that out a lot quicker than they used to. It's quite sad, really, that the police are trying to second guess what the social media commentators and the mainstream, some of the mainstream media will be doing with the information, rather than concentrating on doing their job.
Yeah, I mean, I've already seen, actually, Peter, although it was very clear, the police were very clear to say this was a 53-year-old white British man. I've already seen people willfully remove the word white while they're tweeting and saying, oh, well, what do they mean by a British man? Well, it's very clear by this description what they meant by a British man, but people are already willfully just lying about it to stir up trouble.
Sadly, there are racists amongst us.
We've been told the police do not suspect terrorism, that the anti-terror police were there. They've said, no, we're at this stage ruling this out. What will be happening to the suspect at this point? Will they still be questioning him? Will he be allowed a break? What is the process?
I'd be very surprised if he's been questioned very much at all so far. One line of inquiry that's always going to be the case where you've got a vehicle coming into contact with pedestrians and a crowd in this case. obviously the main question is, why did this happen? Was it deliberate, or was it an accident of some sort? Was there a vehicle defect of some sort? Did the driver had a medical episode? These are all reasons that cars have gone into crowds and vans have gone into crowds over the years. The vast majority of incidents aren't terrorism and aren't deliberate. They're the other explanations, and so obviously the health of the driver will be something that they're looking at with a view to making sure that all the possible evidence they've got there were they drunk, were they drugged, were they ill in some way, what? And so I would have thought that would be taking up an awful lot of time between now and then. As you say, we're getting late, and it may well be that they'll decide that they'll do the interview after an 8-hour rest period in the morning.
Would it be likely that this driver was taken straight to a hospital for those checks?
It's impossible to say. Possibly, possibly not. Depends entirely on what presented to the officers at the time, and probably the advice of medical staff that were present at the scene within seconds. So the police will have some indication of any issues that are there.
And we notice from the scene right now that it did start to rain after this incident had happened. The police have used a very large, it looks like an inflatable tent of some description. I presume that's covering the car to protect any evidence that there may be on the vehicle.
That would certainly be the usual situation if the vehicle's still present at the scene, for it to be covered with a tent to preserve evidence, particularly, as you say, if it's raining.
And what will be the process of the car now? I mean, clearly they don't look as though they're going to be moving that tonight. Will they keep it in situ until the morning? Will they be getting specialists, mechanical, forensic people through, or will that be checked somewhere else?
It will be done somewhere else. The detailed examination of the vehicle in a situation like this, they will probably keep it at the scene overnight, not just to preserve evidence on the vehicle, but to be to be sure that they're not destroying any evidence in removing the vehicle, because it will be probably lifted onto a low loader, and so that low loader will have to get close to the vehicle. So they'll need to clear a route in for that low loader and do all that. And these things are always done better in daylight than at night. If it needs to be done at night, it'll be done at night, but they'll probably wait until the morning, I would have thought.
There you go. That was Peter Kirkham there, former Detective Chief Inspector with the Metropolitan Police, earlier on in the programme, just describing there some of the processes that will have to take place before we get the information that we're all wanting to hear. But they have to go through these processes, and that will probably all begin in earnest later on today. Quick break, back in a sec.
Across the UK, on on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hello there, you're with Talk and you're with Petri until the top of the hour, and we're just looking at the situation that occurred in Liverpool at around 6 o'clock yesterday evening. We did patch in live to the press conference that was held there a little bit earlier on, and we learned that indeed there had been 27 patients taken to hospital, including 2 that were seriously hurt. Injured fans were taken to 4 different hospitals. They were the Royal Liverpool Hospital, Alder Hey, Arrow Park and Aintree University hospitals. And St John's Ambulance was also present at the parade and helped with the injured. This is Dave Kitchen from the North West Ambulance Service. He said thankfully the ambulance services already had a substantial presence close to the parade route. Of course, there was a parade there and there were around 1.2 million people in Liverpool at the time. So there was a huge police presence and ambulance presence and, as we said, the St John's Ambulance as well. Thankfully, they were very close and were able to intervene as quickly as they did. 4 people, including a child, became trapped under the car that hit those pedestrians, and the fire engines were immediately mobilised. They were sent to Water Street. 3 fire engines were in attendance in 4 minutes. On arrival, the crews were met with numerous injured and 4 persons trapped under the vehicle. Our crews rapidly lifted the vehicle, removed 3 adults and 1 child from beneath and passed them to our ambulance service colleagues. We then worked with emergency service partners to ensure casualties received medical treatment and transport to hospital as quickly as possible. So all of the emergency services were in attendance, and they seem to have really handled the situation very, very, very quickly and efficiently. Denise joins us now from Liverpool. Hello, Denise.
Hiya, Petri. What I wanted to say is this incident tonight regarding the football match, it brings back memories of the Hillsborough incident in the 80s. Now, at that time, Kelvin Mackenzie, as you all know of, he was the head of service son, and he said what he said. Now, not every human being in Liverpool is a football fan in any case. I personally don't like any football, any team, and none of my friends do. Now, me and my friends happen to agree with Kelvin Mackenzie, because tonight's incident has all reminded us of the Hillsborough and the way the fans react to the homecoming. Now, tonight was the homecoming, but Hillsborough was at the match. And they go into a frenzy, and it happens with most Liverpool football matches.
See, that's really contentious though, Denise, isn't it? Because a lot of people didn't, I mean, the Sun newspaper is not a popular paper still in Liverpool decades later, and because everybody roundly hated Mackenzie for what he said.
But this is what I'm saying, Petri. Not everybody in Liverpool supports any team of anything, you know, any football team. And there's a lot of people in Liverpool. I don't know, well, Calvin himself won't be aware of it, but I'd love to hear what his thought about tonight's incidents, because not everybody in Liverpool is either a Liverpool football fan or an Everton football fan, and I don't like football at all. But what I'm saying, Petri, there's reminiscences of the fans' reaction to their team, and they go absolutely mad. Now, a lot of people in Liverpool, quite a lot, are like that. They are. but some people aren't bothered either way about football. But they get into a frenzy over what essentially is just a game. It's just a game.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is with Mackenzie is he blamed the fans, didn't he? And that seemed to be a horrendous thing. It's a horrendous thing to do, to blame the victims for their own demise. And I think the fans behaved. Look, the fans were angry tonight, but there's been not that I've heard of, any trouble in Liverpool, unless you can tell me differently.
Well, the fans tonight, not all of them. But there was a group of fans rushing to the car, bashing the guy's car up. Now that to me is like a mob. It's like a mob rule. You think someone's deliberately done something and you go for it in a mob type of rule thing.
But weren't they just trying to protect other people? Nobody knew what this driver was going to do next, that he might have reversed and done it again, or he might have, they didn't know what was going on. All they saw was, people being ploughed into and trying to stop him, and I think I'd have been amongst them.
Yes, but the problem there is that guy might have been trying to avoid as many people as he could to get away. Now, even Merseyside police, as we speak, Petri, they don't know what he was trying to do. Now, as far as I can see, I've got the news on now, they still don't know what he was trying to do.
No, they don't. And look, it may be those fans chasing him. Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, look, we won't know the full picture, but I understand what you're saying, and interfering could have made matters worse.
I think it has made it worse. Now, there's a lot of people in Liverpool, and I know them personally. They have that mob rule mentality. Not every Scouser, and certainly not everyone from Liverpool's like that. I'm certainly not. And none of my friends are. We don't have that mentality of don't smash something up. We think he's done this or we think he's done that. I have not. And not everybody from Liverpool is like that. But there does seem an element regarding football. Well, in the days of football hooliganism, I can't say the word, but you know what I mean.
I do, exactly. You said it perfectly well the second time.
I haven't got me keys in. I've got both Steve and I haven't got them in. So you know what I mean. Football hooliganism.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're probably far too young to remember the days of the 50s, 60s and 70s, but I'm not. I remember all those decades from it started in the 50s, early 60s, and it's still to a point here today. There is that small group where there is football hooliganism.
Yeah. It's very difficult to say at this stage. I mean, in the fullness of time, we'll learn, what happened. Yeah. But I can see your way of. I can see why you would think, having seen the footage that you've seen, I can see why you would think that. But there are two sides. They were trying to stop something worse happening, and they didn't know what was going on. I guess we'll find out very, very soon.
Or can I just say one thing before it'd be now interesting to wonder what Kel Mackenzie would have to say, because to me and my friends, we would say he may be vindicated in what he originally said.
I don't think he'll ever be vindicated by Liverpool for what he originally said. I had to check and see if he was still alive. And he is, apparently. I thought he'd gone.
Still alive.
I thought he'd gone. I don't know. All these people keep dropping like flies. No, he is still around.
No, I've seen him on a TV channel on Freeview less than 6 months ago.
Oh, right. Yeah, I once worked with Mackenzie, once.
And what how did you find them to work with?
Do you know, I found him quite prickly, arrogant and opinionated, is to be perfectly honest, is how I found him.
I know he had very strong views.
Yeah, I just found him quite, you know, quite arrogant, and I think a little bit didn't really want a woman, you know, to have an opinion. That's how I felt. But otherwise, he was fine. He was quite charming.
Not a misogynist, just an old-fashioned guy.
There you go. That's it. Just old-fashioned, not quite misogynist, but yeah, a bit sexist maybe. That I'll go with that. Denise, it's lovely to talk to you. Thank you very, very much indeed for calling in. I've got to take a quick break, but I will be back in just a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Hi there, this is Talk and it's Petri with you until the top of the hour. Zarina has just messaged me to say an eyewitness at the scene in Liverpool reported that he heard the car horn as it came hurtling down the road. Let's hope that it was defective brakes that caused this incident. Yeah, this is it, we don't know. This is something that they will be checking very closely. The police and the forensics and the mechanics and things like that. Robert is in Hertfordshire. Hello, Robert. How are you this morning?
Hi, Petrie.
Hiya.
Yeah, I'm in shock. I mean, I was watching the Enemy, GB News at the time when it came through.
Right.
And I followed it, but it's, I don't know, a lot of things don't add up to me. It seems like the authorities are very quick to come out. Because what's happened is, because of Southport, the public don't trust, the government or the police, because they was blatantly lied to. And there's still repercussions of that. A lot of people went to prison who shouldn't have gone, and a lot of people who went to prison who should have gone. So there was, there was a lot of repercussions there. And you can't blame people for not believing the authorities, because they was blatantly lied to. Although in this case...
Well, we were more lied to by omission. That before we just weren't being given the truth. They were sort of fiddling around the edges. But the statement that this man was a 53-year-old white British Liverpudlian man, that is not a lie. They wouldn't lie that blatantly for it to be discovered later that wasn't true.
Yeah, but they didn't come. Yeah, that's right. But you imagine it in the Southport one, if they would have come out and said the person was of colour, he was a Muslim, whatever, and he stabbed one of the little girls.
I don't think he was a Muslim. Was he? Oh, he trans.
No, I'm just saying, this face up to it. They said he was a Welsh. He was a Welsh choir boy or something, first of all, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. No, you're absolutely right. But it is that I agree. I mean, that's what I mean. They lied by omission. This time, this is the truth. But this is now they've made a rod for their own back, because this is the truth that he is. Because there's no way that they can go, oh well, we didn't mean that. With the Welsh choir, he was a Welsh choir boy and all those other things, right? But in this case, he's a white British man, local. So that, and if that were proved to be a lie, then it would be game over. So that is not a lie. With the rod they've made,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But there is a worrying aspect of this, and that is, you know, to do all that damage by a car, you will never be able to stop that. I mean, I've got a car in my drive now. If I wanted to, I could get in it, go to town, and do exactly the same thing. That's the worrying thing about it. Look, the other thing that's on my mind is what I don't want to happen. When they start doing the investigations, they find out that he was known by the police, or he was a mental patient and he didn't... Because that's usually what happens. You know it is. That's usually a trend. There's somewhere where someone has let that fella down.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I'm hoping it's not going to be the case, because you'll never be able to stop it. Anybody could get in a car tonight and do exactly the same thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's the thing, is a lot of people will be asking the question, how was he able to get a car that close? Whether it was an accident or deliberate, right? That car should not have been anywhere near that number of people. So that'll be a question that needs to be answered. And just for convenience to leave roads open, maybe in future we're just going to have to, just not have that convenience. And we're just going to have to stop cars from going anywhere near large crowds, because
ironically, if it was terror related, it would be more cut and thrust, because he would have been known by the authorities. He would have been shadowed by, MI5 or MI6. So, and there would have been a chance where they could have prevented it. With this, you'll never prevent it. I'll be interested. Well, I'll say I'll be interested. I mean, that's the sort of morbid way of saying it, but you can never stop. This is the worrying thing about it. You can't stop anybody going. Look, it's a trend. It's happened all over Europe. It's happened in Germany.
It's happened in America. It's happened everywhere. Since the first person that did use the car as a weapon, then everyone's going, oh right, well we don't need a knife, we don't need a gun, we don't need a bomb. Right, we can cause this sort of terror with just a simple car, and I'm afraid that we just have to be hyper vigilant to it, because what are they going to do? They can't ban cars.
But if that was an accident, then that's fair enough. But if he'd done that on purpose, then someone's let him and us down.
Yeah. I can't see any argument with that at this stage. I mean, if it was deliberate, this is somebody with real problems, right? I mean, who would do that deliberately? Who was sane, right?
Yeah, it's worrying, and I think it's something that you can't see. The other worrying thing is, I almost don't want to say it. It wasn't terror related tonight, but it won't be long before it is, because of the history of this country, the London bombings, the Andrea Grande concert. They need to get their act together to see what's going to happen, because it won't be. I'm not wishing it. I'm just just going by the history. We've got a history of terrorist activity.
I mean, look, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. That this has got to be a nightmare for anybody who's organising anything these days. Is to make sure that cars can't be used in this way, if indeed it was used as a weapon on this occasion. And the jury's out on that. We don't have the information yet, but it is scary that this can be done so easily. So easily.
Yeah, I think they've handled it. I was quite impressed the way, even Starmer, they've done all the things right. They've done everything right.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, there's no criticism there at all.
No, do you know what? I think the police pulled a blinder, because that could have turned really nasty really quickly. And they seem to have handled that really well. There were a lot of very drunk people there, and that is a tinderbox waiting to go off. And it seems to me that the police were there quickly, promptly, in number, and were able to really control that situation very, very well.
Yeah,
because that could have got a lot worse. You know, a lot worse.
You know, but you know, we're sort of resilient to it. You know, not only Liverpool, but Liverpool have gone through a lot of tragedy. But us as a country, you know, I mean, it's come at the. I'll tell you what a year, eh? What a terrible, terrible year it's been, Petrie. I mean, it's just, you know, in the world, you know, it just seems to get...
Yeah, the whole world has gone mad. Honestly, Robert, I can't cope with the mess the world's in at the moment.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. I think we've slipped into an alternative timeline. It's just none of it makes any sense anymore. It's all...
I'm 72. I can never remember anything as bad.
No.
You know, and I've lived through the Moors murders and all sorts of things, you know, but this is every week up. Well, it's not week after week, it's day after day.
It's almost hour after hour, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, I wake up in the morning and sort of look at my phone, grimacing at what I'm going to see there. You know, it's just like, oh, what's happened today? What other disaster has befallen this nation or the world or Ukraine or Gaza or America? I mean, it's just like I pretty much I give up.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it you can foresee, but I bet you had to get your programme together a bit lively tonight, didn't you?
You want to bet? Yeah, we did. We threw everything away and started again.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of broadcasting, isn't it? And that's what we're here to do. So we're happy to do it. We're not happy on this occasion, but you know what I mean. That's what we do.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Well, you're a journalist, aren't you? I mean, you must be. You know.
Yeah. In my heart, that's the journalism takes over everything. So for me, it's a place to be. Robert, thank you. Great to talk to you. Really lovely. Gosh, this person says you don't know what this man's car was. You don't know that this man's car was being attacked and he was acting in self-defence. No, we don't. We don't know any of that, and that is the point that Denise was making. I think Michelle is in Birmingham. Hi, Michelle.
Hiya, are you okay?
I'm
Hello,
good.
Petrie.
Hello, can you hear me?
I love your voice. I can hear you.
Thank you.
I love your voice so much. First of all, I'd like to just say to everybody in Liverpool, like, I'm literally, like,
Yeah, just sending our love and thoughts, right?
Yeah, I'm really sad about this. Secondly, I'd like to say, so I live in Birmingham. I'm from Nottingham originally.
Right.
So, but if I took you into Birmingham's centre, you go into the city centre and there's like bollards everywhere, but they come like almost waist high. But they're there clearly to stop a vehicle, any kind of attack. Honestly, I could just take you there.
That's really a sad indictment, isn't it? Really, that these bollards.
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to see more and more of. I think is the whole of city centres being blocked to all vehicles.
How has it come to this point? So, whatever has happened, first of all, I'd like to say this: that they have publicised that it's a white male.
Mm-hmm.
When last year they could not release any information and it sparked riots.
Well, that's why they've released it this time.
Because it sparked riots because of misinformation. So now they have released this information. But how has it come to this? So if the person that has done this is suffering from mental health, which is we've got a mental health crisis in this country. We've got all of this going on, and it's not going to be an excuse. It can't be an excuse. No longer can people say it's okay or it's an excuse. I'm from Nottingham attacks.
Listen, I'm with you, Michelle, because it's like Robert was saying as well, that if this is mental health, then somebody's been very badly let down, and we cannot keep accepting that as an excuse, because there shouldn't be. We are the 6th richest nation in the world. We should not have the mental health crisis that we have.
Yeah, it shouldn't. And Petrie, you know what? It should not.
No.
It should not. We should be able to. We should be able to care for each other and love. I don't mean it not like. I don't. Oh,
no, I know what you're saying, and I absolutely.